Hello, everybody. Welcome to Armchair Expert. I'm Dax Shepard, and across from me, wearing my favorite hair accoutrement, Monica Padman.
Miniature mouse.
Miniature Padman.
Yeah.
What is that? That's a hairband that has ears on it?
No, I'd call it a bow.
It's a bow.
Yeah.
And what's underneath of that? Some kind of a clasp?
No, it's a scrunch. It's like a
screw?
scrunchie. It's screwed in. It's a scrunchie with a bow attached.
Oh, yeah. You always look so much like Miniature Mouse when you do it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great look.
I don't wear it very often.
I'm sad we don't photograph the intro because I'm sure people will be excited about your rain boots you're wearing too.
It's flooding in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
It took me 35 minutes to drive a mile today. It was a torrential downpour this morning, and I got to wear my rain boots. The only good thing about rain.
Yeah, you and Kristen really will eventize any kind of inclement weather.
Of course.
With jackets and boots and gloves and Miniature Mouse head screws.
That's right.
Well, our guest today is
Miniature Mouse.
Miniature Mouse. Is Andrea Savage, who's an old friend of mine and a very, very funny comedian. She has her own show called I'm Sorry on True TV, but the first season is available currently on Netflix.
Ever heard of it?
Ever heard of it? So if you want to binge that, I recommend it. You will enjoy Andrea Savage. She's very funny and very spunky.
Yeah, we like spunk here.
Yeah, we do. We prioritize spunkiness.
Yeah.
So please enjoy Andrea Savage.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
Andrea Savage, so nice to see you.
Delightful to see your face.
Occasionally, I get an old friend in here, and you fit in that category.
I fit the bill.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's been a lot of time since we've been friends.
Oh, yeah. I almost could say decades. Definitely a decade.
I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when I think of you, I'm like, oh, my friend Dax. But
Yeah.
I haven't seen you in so long, with the exception of very quickly in the airport.
And didn't I see you when you did House of Lies? Did I come?
Yes.
Yes.
You did see me when I did House of Lies, and that's when I fell in love with your wife.
And you. And what was comical to me was she came home from work one day and she was like, oh my God, I'm in love with this girl, Andrea Savage. You have to look up her comedy. And I was like, hon, yeah, I've made out with Andrea Savage.
Oh, wow.
Don't you get to an age where you're kind of like everything's a secret, and then you're just kind of proud you lived before you got married?
100%. I'm like, I feel like that's like notches on my belt. Yeah, I made out with Dax back
I hope
in the
I'm
day.
not an embarrassment. Because
Trust
clearly
me, there's way
we have some landmines, right?
Way worse ones than you. Come on. No, but it also is like another lifetime ago.
It really is. In fact, I was thinking, knowing you were coming today, I was kind of, really trying to remember the details of all that, right?
I will let you know, not terribly successful. My brain, I'm just suddenly like, what happened again? My memory is really...
Well, do you have two kids?
I have one kid.
You have one? Okay. Well, it gets worse with two.
It gets worse? I know, but now it doesn't sound like... Now it's just maybe I have Alzheimer's or something.
I don't think it's full-blown Alzheimer's yet.
Yeah, no, but it's a touch of the Al's.
Yeah.
But I was trying to also go through like the
chronology.
And I was like, I don't know what year it was. I was like, I don't know.
No. And I guess I wouldn't have brought it up had Hardwick and I not discussed it kind of publicly on his podcast.
Oh, great.
Well, I told you that, though.
I think you did.
I did.
That is,
I kind of warned
You're right. You did. I forgot.
guess I
but
was
by
like,
the way, I also, who cares? We were 8 children.
yeah, in our 20s. And the best
Yeah.
part is when Hardwick and I discussed you, it was like,
He and I
through
are
the
so very
most
close.
rose-colored glasses imaginable.
Yeah.
And he accredits his sobriety to you.
He does, yeah. And obviously, I will accept all the credit for that.
As you should.
As I should, because it's pretty easy for people to get sober if they're told to, right?
That's generally how it works.
That's generally how it works.
You can't do it, and then someone says,
do it.
Stop.
Like I said it emphatically.
I'm sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No.
But what I got curious about,
Yeah.
which was really fun as I was again, going through, one of the memories I have is going over to your apartment on ecstasy Like I just kind of showed up on ecstasy. Do you remember?
I
Do you remember
think
that?
so. Yeah,
Like I was somewhere on ecstasy.
We were in Groundlings together. Let's
start at the beginning.
paint that.
You were ahead of me at the Groundlings. And we knew each other from there.
Yeah.
And then as Groundlings do, you go out and drink at bars. So I knew you socially. I can't remember how it turned into something.
I don't recall either.
No. And it was short.
I was going to say it was very, it didn't really, nothing crazy really happened as far as I remember, recall.
No. What I found intriguing now, 15 years after the fact, was... So Hardwick was in the mix. He had clearly a drinking problem by his own admission.
Yeah.
And then for whatever reason, you were willing to kiss me and I was on ecstasy.
Yeah.
And what's so curious is you're pretty straight-laced.
Yeah.
You know, you have your shit together. And then I know about a couple other boyfriends that we won't even get into for their privacy or whatever. But you're kind of attracted to the flame a little bit, right? There's something curious there. And by the way, this only occurred to me this afternoon when I was thinking about it. Never back then did it. Like, I think, why does she even want to talk to me? I'm a dirtbag on drugs.
And it's interesting because I feel like I've tried to figure a little bit of this out because I've always been like, I have my shit together. And I never was like taking anyone seriously who didn't have their shit together.
Right.
But I think that was easy for me because I was like, I don't think I'll ever get married. I don't want to get married. I don't want to depend on anybody, So if I dated people who were like a little more fucked up than I was.
Disposable, ultimately.
It was like, ultimately, it'd be real easy to say bye-bye before maybe they did.
Right.
Something like that.
Any addiction in your family? Like, are you hardwired
No,
to
and I will
addicts?
tell you that Chris was the only person I'd ever dated who had an alcohol problem or drug problem. And then I guess when you had ecstasy, I didn't even remember you were on ecstasy. But again, like ours was the most harmless of like, we made out a couple times, like we didn't, whatever. But that was the only person I ever dated who had an addiction problem.
Right. Okay. But you've had some boyfriends.
And I will say that Chris and I fought about it from day one.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm. And he and I've talked about it before openly and stuff, but he was an interesting person in that he wasn't like just getting drunk and belligerent. His was sort of like an anti-anxiety thing. So it was a very like low level drinking. So he was still doing well and he was still like
he was productive.
He was productive and stuff. And so it was just like, dude, you don't need to have that many beers a night. But it wasn't like something where he was like a disaster.
Yeah. Well, okay, so maybe not addiction problems, but you've also had some boyfriends with some like struggles, no?
There was a little pattern there for a while when I was Groundlings in comedy where I just got caught in the comedy. And I had a couple comedy boyfriends in a while who all had issues. Other than that, like the loves of my lives from like high school or college or post that little comedy period, none of them have had. Okay. But I did have a period where it was kind of comedian focused.
Sure. Yeah. And there's probably a inordinately high rate of all those isms.
I feel like it was hard to date a comedian without it.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're very charming.
For a while until it wears off.
Yeah. But I definitely get lured into the like funny, charming, charismatic guy.
Yes. Yeah. Please give me your approval. Okay, I'll give you a little bit of it.
I'll give you shit. Like that banter. When you're like doing a good banter, girl or boy, there's nothing sort of that makes you feel more like fucking got this and I'm connected. That's how I feel like is my biggest like language that I talk to someone.
Yeah, it's kind of like adult playing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's like pulling the kid's hair in school.
And
but
now
it's
you just
like
do it verbally.
You do it verbally and kind of fuck with your friends.
Yeah, you're from Woodland Hills.
I am.
So suspicious to me.
Obviously.
Yeah. What did mom and dad do in Woodland Hills?
Well, my parents were divorced when I was 2.
Oh, okay.
So my dad is an orthodontist in Orange County.
This is great.
Is it?
Yes, because I talk about orthodontia on here.
I come from a big teeth family.
Oh, it shows in your smile. It really
you
does.
Have very nice teeth.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They're perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My dad's an orthodontist. My mom was a dental hygienist. I have a brother who's a dentist. I have an uncle who's a periodontist.
Wow.
Like we're deep in the teeth.
Teeth racket.
Game. Big in the teeth game.
Wow, you're like third generation in the teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, the teeth grind.
I got a lot.
I don't know if this is rumor. Of course, Monica will fact check us. But isn't dentistry have like one of the higher rates of suicide?
I believe it does.
What?
And drug addiction because they can prescribe their own drugs.
Yeah.
But I will say, I'm not sure that, they have the same discipline as maybe some other doctors.
Well, also,
sure.
they're working like a foot away from laughing gas all day long.
All day long. Although I will say, I've been to the dentist obviously many times in my life. I've never been given laughing gas or any sort of gas or anything.
You just have to request it.
I don't think it's ever been on the table. I
Here's
just had a wisdom tooth extracted. My only one I've had to have extracted, only because it broke. I have so much room in my mouth. I have a very large cavern in my face.
Okay.
And it was just like kind of broken, and it was just like, well, that's got to go. And I needed it done really fast because I had to like go back to work or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, oh, so you don't want to be put under? And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was an option. And he was like, well, you can. It's just one. And I was like, well, I can't be put under. Can we just do it? And he's like, all right, if you really want to.
Ooh, was it
For wisdom
horrendous?
teeth, it's intense.
It was so fine, guys.
It was?
It literally, he was like, okay, 10 seconds later, it was out. And I was like, wait, now what? And he was like, no, it's out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So I was like, I almost went under for that.
So I did go under.
Okay.
I had 4
Well, if
removed
you were doing
in
4, yeah.
in-
This was 1.
12th grade. No, 11th grade. And in this, I attribute my early love for opiates is that experience because they gave me
interesting.
both Vicodin and Percocet. And that was the first time I was on like both. And I was like, oh, I would like to feel this way forever.
Oh, that worries me.
And then I went to a graduation party,
Yeah.
had a beer with that, and was like, oh no, this is how I want to feel all the time.
Can
It was
I
so
tell you
obvious.
that I have a legitimate, and this is like getting whatever, but like a legitimate fear about my daughter.
Okay.
Because she has more social anxiety than I ever did, and really is a little more shy and is confident with me, but definitely is very uncomfortable around new people and this and that. And I truly have a fear that she's going to hit high school and have her first drinks and do drugs for the first time and be like, oh,
Here's
I
the
can finally
personality.
take a breath
Mhm.
and this is what I want to feel. So
Yeah.
I'm like working my ass off trying to get her feeling more confident and comfortable with herself before that day. Because
Yes.
I am worried that that is,
Gonna be a great sense
even
of
though there's
relief.
no addiction in either my family or my husband's, it is something that I legitimately am concerned about, that very thing.
Yeah, but don't you think that's just the business of being a parent? Because if it's not that,
course.
it's 100% something else.
Of course,
Like,
I know.
It could also go either way. I got my wisdom teeth out and I was on hard drugs too. And I had a friend come over and we watched Jerry Maguire and I didn't, and after I was like, I didn't watch the movie. I was like, I was so out of it. I hated it so much.
Oh.
That's me. I
But
don't
I
like
was
being
like,
on any of it.
Never.
It's
I'm
not
never
pleasant to
doing
me.
that. That's
Yeah.
not fun. So she could be that girl.
Okay. That makes me feel bad. Because
Monica's
and again,
an alcoholic, though. We could
Sure,
agree.
but
Okay.
not at high school.
By the way, and if I had to choose between alcoholism or drug addiction for my child, which hopefully I don't have to,
Yeah.
I would choose alcohol, I think.
You would.
I think so.
It's
Yeah,
interesting.
Again.
Me too.
Tongue in cheek
Now,
to a point.
some of these things you really got to think through, though, because I watched a documentary about these doctors in England forming a coalition to try to get MDMA legalized because the rate of emergency room admission that are alcohol related, like after 9 p.m., is like 85%. And they just have the data on how dangerous alcohol is versus how dangerous MDMA is.
Right.
So I don't, it's,
But I will tell you, I don't also see in my daughter the ability to drink that much. I think she'll end up having my acid reflux stomach.
oh, we hope.
You know what I mean?
Hopefully she'll be blessed with acid reflux.
She'll get acid reflux. Like she won't be able to recover well from alcohol. So hopefully she won't have the like part of her that like handles alcohol well.
Yeah.
So it'll come at her from both sides.
Yeah. That'll regulate everything.
I can't drink very much at all anymore. I hate it because I like having drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I recall, like not a boozer, but you would have some
I have
cocktails, right?
Yeah, I enjoy it. But now like it takes me like days to recover.
You're so hungover.
I don't sleep, and then I feel like shit for like 2 days.
So what does mommy do to
Gross.
relax?
Don't look at me with straight eye contact.
I laser beamed your eyes when I said that.
Just laser beamed mommy.
Well, I was thinking of Mama's Little Helper. What do we say? Never
Yeah,
mind.
Mama's Little
The
Helper,
more
yeah.
I say it, the
It's
grosser it sounds.
Yeah, it's getting
Do,
creepier.
do you have anything that helps you?
Yeah, I mean, going out, having a glass of wine or two, that's pretty much my
the extent?
I would say, I don't know, couple months, maybe 2-3 times a year. I'll tie it.
You'll get hammered.
Throw down.
I'll throw down and I'll pay the price.
Okay, but it's worth it.
I like to go out for a night with some friends and just
how do
do
you
it.
feel about marijuana?
Not a big marijuana person. Panic attacks.
Okay. It's interesting, though, because you and Monica are now sharing this, which is clearly you don't like the sense of feeling out of control.
Yeah, 100%.
But what's so ironic is that, like, booze,
I know.
It's like it can render you unable to walk or like fall downstairs or you can't drive a car. So
But
it's
you
funny
don't
to you.
know.
I know. It's a magic
You
trick.
think you think you look great.
You got more
and you're
control.
adorable the way you fell.
Oh, yeah.
And all that. You're not aware of the lack of control.
Yeah, that's maybe a good
And then the
point.
next day you're like, what happened again?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
It also takes a lot to get there.
Yeah.
it reminds me of that cliche. What's the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing us he doesn't exist or something. That's basically what alcohol does. Is it convinces you you're in more control and you're fucking someone you hate and you're like, your car's in a ditch.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just smacked a friend, but you're in total control.
I will say, I think, and again, I'm probably wrong, but I think I'm a pretty fun person when I've had, like, I don't get belligerent.
Right.
My body doesn't vomit. So,
Even when you
never-
have the flu. Well, hold on though. You phrased it so weird. My body doesn't vomit. What I interpret is you refuse
You
to
hate
throw
it
up.
so
you hate
much.
it.
No. My body legitimately,
You're like a unicorn.
it doesn't, and my daughter doesn't either. So, like, even if I have
Really?
stomach flu or if I've had like alcohol, it literally just doesn't have the when I was pregnant, like, it doesn't have that reflux.
I'm jealous.
There's a lot to envy here. The
Yeah,
smile,
it's just
the lack
like-
of throwing down.
Yeah.
Is it Julia Roberts' mouth that she has?
That you're reminding.
Yeah.
I have.
Did you get
sure.
that?
I got, yeah.
Yeah.
When I was in my early 20s and she was wearing her hair curly and I was wearing my hair more curly and stuff, I would get it, and I was a waitress. I would get it 12 times a
You
day.
can see it.
You would.
Now, not as much, but I used to when I was younger, and people said I had her voice, and I don't know.
Yeah. And were you pumped on that? I mean,
Of course.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
What kind of asshole would be like, oh, fuck off. I look like Julia Roberts, you dick.
I know an asshole, and I say this with love and respect to Kevin Zegers, an actor friend of mine, who's always getting told I look like Zac Efron. I'm so fucking sick of it. I'm like, oh, boo fucking who?
Oh
You
my
look like a
God.
perfect
By the way,
10.
he does look like him.
I know. Who could complain about that?
I know.
Yeah. No,
It's
I was thrilled.
It makes me happy, but I was prepared for you to go like, oh, it was annoying.
No.
I just wanted to be me. But you were.
It was still me.
yeah, you were still you.
Just waitressing,
Now-
making a living.
So you're from Woodland Hills.
Yeah.
When do you decide you're going to get into show business? And did you think I'm going to get into acting?
You know, no one in my family is in the entertainment business in any way. My parents got divorced. My mom got remarried very quickly after my dad left.
Okay.
And
Like how quickly? That
she met my stepdad 3 weeks after my dad left.
good for her. That bed didn't even get cold.
Yeah, she met my stepdad through her brother, and it was just on right away.
And they're still together.
Is he still your
He passed away
Okay.
about 12 years ago, and he was my stepdad up until that point.
They had made
so
it.
I grew up with him mostly as my main father figure. Dad.
Right. Yeah. You adore him, right? I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would imagine rare for someone to meet someone 3 weeks after a divorce and go the whole distance.
And somebody who'd never been around children before. He was an only child, and my mom had a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old.
That's he's an incredible person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he took it on, like took the responsibility on and all of that. Yeah.
And were you like me in that, like, I had friends whose parents got divorced and they desperately wanted their parents to get back together, but I didn't want that at all. I was like, oh, no, I like living with this lady. And when I go see this man, it's chaos. And
Yeah.
I didn't really.
My whole life, I was like, I'm happy they got divorced because like it worked out better for me. And I didn't want them to get whatever, all of this. It's only been as an adult dealing in my own marriage where I've been like, oh, that maybe fucked me up a little bit more than I've given it credence.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But no, growing up, I was like, no.
But let me ask you
Never,
this.
don't remember them together. Couldn't even imagine them being
How long
together.
have you been with Jeremy?
I have been with Jeremy for 14 years.
Okay. Right. So, and I've been with Belle for like 11.
Yeah.
And do you ever go, oh, well, no shit, my parents didn't make it. They were 26. You know, like when I think about that they had been together as long as Belle and I, but at like 26 or 7, I go, there's no way.
It's a no-brainer.
Yes, of course you're leaving.
Yeah. Also, I will say, I think I grew up with a little too cavalier of an attitude about divorce. Like I was just like, well, yeah, when things don't work out after a little bit, you should.
Bad week.
Just bad week, you get out.
That's right. You pull the ripcord.
So that's where I feel like I've had to really be like, oh, I have a kind of too cavalier of an attitude about divorce. But then also the other side of me that's very grounded and stuff and goes, fuck you, stop being stupid in your head. But they're kind of in your brain of just, marriage to me wasn't something forever. That was never something that even occurred to me because it was not in my reality really at all.
Me as well. And then also, like, if you grew up as your example is like they end and they don't, just the severity of it seems, I don't know. I was just like,
like people be like, I couldn't even imagine getting divorced. Like, oh my God. And I was like, not that big of a deal. Like everyone moves on with their lives.
You call up a lawyer and then you're 3 weeks later, you're dating a nice gentleman that'll raise your children.
Exactly.
You have a really funny bit, the engagement ring.
Oh my God, that's so long. To remind, it has to be shiny to remind you not to fuck other people.
Yeah. It's kind of like a defense of a good engagement ring.
Yeah.
It's like that's the thing that's going to snap you back to reality.
You need something to catch your eye.
You need like a strobe light on your hand at all times to remind you,
to be like,
hey, you're still not allowed to fuck anyone else.
Remember that?
Yeah. What were you going to say, Monica?
Oh, I thought you were going to say another bit that you reference a ton.
I do. And you know what's funny is I was thinking again about you coming here today. I was like, is this one of the bits that has aged well enough? Like I wondered. So my favorite bit of yours, in fact, Kristen and I's together is, and I want you to tell it because I'll do a bad job, but how we talk about little boys being a heartbreaker.
I put it in my show last season.
Oh, you did?
I did. I did.
Okay. So it's withstood though.
It's withstood and it played very well. Yeah, basically just about the double standard of sexualizing little boys. Like, oh, look at him. Oh, when they're babies and they're just smiling at you and everyone's like, oh, he is flirting with you. Ooh, he's going to be a heartbreaker. Watch out for this guy.
Yeah, he's
and like
charmer.
turning it around on someone's little girl and be like, well, look at this cock tease. She's going to really throw it around. You better watch out.
Just the idea of calling a female baby a cock tease. It's just hard to beat that. But yeah, I don't know why. Can I just say for 1 second how impressed I am? And you've always been like this, though. I feel like you've always been so attuned to detail and memory. Like things stick with you in a very impressive way. Like the fact that just listening to your podcast and stuff, but just knowing you too, you've always been able to like recall little moments. I don't think I can take that compliment. I think it's a survival mechanism of being dyslexic and not being able to read and having to literally memorize everything the teacher said if you had any shot of getting something right on the test.
Okay,
like I know several dyslexics and they all seem to have
that ability. You listen to people and then you pull it back later
and fuck you over. I put it in the vault and then I unlocked the vault.
No, but like I even remember this from back when we, were friends and hung out more. Like you'd say something and then like you'd pull it out like a year later and be like, remember that thing that you said or that bit? And it was like, wow, you really were listening. Like,
well, I think I was listening to you. Yes, you had my full attention. But
still,
I'm glad you're here saying this in front of Monica because Monica's very critical of my current memory at 43.
Well, I get that.
And I don't think
it's a bad memory. I'm going to say it. I think it's bad.
Well, if you're going to call my memory bad, what fucking adjective have you reserved for Kristen? You can't.
Well, hers is
apocalyptic.
I can't even call it a memory. Okay. She doesn't have one. You have one. It's just poor.
I totally disagree with you. I think mine's still in the like 70 percentile, but it did used to be a lot.
I will say my mother's one of the happiest people you'll ever meet.
Okay.
Ever. But really the secret to it is she doesn't remember anything bad that ever happened or anything bad that really anyone ever did.
It's an asset.
Yeah. Nice.
Like from my dad to any person, like she's just like, I don't really remember that. I just remembered like, and honestly, she's one of the happiest people you'll ever meet.
Yeah. Just do a data dump every night when your head hits the pillow, just let it all out and then start. Yeah. I mean, if people are aspiring to live in the present, I guess what use does memory serve?
You'd be an insane person.
I think the more content you are, probably the worse your memory is.
Yeah, I'd
Because
agree with
when
that.
you're like trying to get things or you want something or somebody, like your brain is working overtime and it's like collecting all of those things. But then if you're content, you don't care.
Yeah, stakes
You're
are a
not
little
going to
lower.
remember.
For everything, by the way. Contentment is it's what we're
Contentment.
aiming towards, but it also is the death
I
of
feel like contentment.
everything.
Yeah.
Bad.
Not bad. And I right now I'm in a level where I'd like a little bit more calmness and just time.
Yeah, so here's what I want to
Yeah.
ask you. So Forte was just in here and I was kind of asking like, were you bummed that Last Man on Earth was canceled? And he was basically like, no, I would have died doing even probably another year. And I had been so jealous of that show and how perfectly it's executed, but also aware of how much attention to detail that takes and mildly aware of what his life probably looked like. But until he said, I was like, oh, I'm not jealous of that. I want to like, yeah.
It's really hard because it's like my dream come true. I get to do the exact show I want to do. It's based on my life. It's based on true stories from my life. It's the exact show I wanted to make. Like truly like very little parameters. And I was able to do exactly what I wanted. But that being said, to do that, you have to be involved in every molecule of the show.
Yeah.
And it never stops.
You'd be shocked how easily things can take a right or left turn. You think you'll just tell yourself like, no, I guess the prop master's good. I'm gonna let the prop master decide what, fucking plates. And then you get there and there's like goblets and you go, wait a minute, why are there it's easy to be a control freak in that world.
And
right?
when it's a show that's so personal and it's all told through my point of view and it's the log line is like any show that's that sort of first person point of view. And so all it is in the execution. So every joke has to be built in the edit. And it's not like big punchlines or broad or anything. So it's all timing built.
Yeah, it's all kind of subtle stuff.
It's all based on real stories. So it's like I know how things are supposed to look and it's all my voice. So it has to come through me. So these kinds of shows like 14 stuff, you don't get any reprieve. And I have a child.
Yes.
And
How old is your daughter?
She's 9.
9.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's in 4th grade.
4th grade. Things are really starting to happen.
Things are happening.
They're happening,
Yeah.
right? But people have boyfriends and girlfriends in 5th grade, right? 4th
They
grade.
do. She's still, which I love, just more imaginative. Boys, I was so boy crazy at her age. And she loves to read. She's really imaginative. And her friends, they're obsessed with cats. And they make up whole stories. Like no joke.
Yeah.
Like it's all cats all the time.
Wow.
When I tell you, this actually is something that happened last night. We have a cat, Candy Purple. And
She named it.
she did name her cat when she
If you would
was
have named it, I
4.
would have asked
Jeremy
you to leave.
did.
Yeah, or even
Jeremy's
worse.
been like, all I've ever wanted is a cat and to name it Candy Purple.
Yeah.
So we have a cat named Candy Purple and she's a really sweet cat, but not agile or real smart. Like just a loving, sweet cat. I never liked cats my whole life.
Yeah.
I was one of those jerks. I was like, fuck cats.
Yeah, me too.
And then I rescued a cat, whatever, and like fell in love with this fucking cat. Anyway, so we live in the hills and our cat sometimes is indoor, outdoor. And my daughter and I, we were out and my husband was home and he fell asleep with the back door open and it got dark and we came home and he was like outside and I was like, what's happening? He's like, I'm looking for the cat.
Oh boy.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, what? And he's like, it's been 10 minutes. And she'll whatever, but she always comes when I call her. So I was calling her and she wasn't coming. And then right at the back of our gate, coyotes yelping and attacking an animal.
No.
Oh, no.
And the dogs are barking at the house next door. And I'm like, oh my God. And my daughter, her whole world is our cat.
Oh my
It is her
gosh.
best friend. Like,
Ay.
and I am like, that cat's not coming back. And she's like, what's happening? Oh my God. And
you
I'm
can
trying
hear-
to and
yeah.
Ay.
and I'm like, oh my God, get her in the house. She's sobbing. I mean, I was talking her through the beginning of grief and just going, oh my God, she's personality of the week this week in school, starting today. And most of her pictures she was bringing
Oh geez.
Candy
wow.
Purple.
Oh,
And
wow.
literally
Yes.
like,
Perfect.
we're moving in 3 weeks. And I was just like, what? How is this happening? And I was crying. She was crying. 2 hours of this, of just, this is our life now. She might not be able to go to school today. And that cat comes strolling in 2 hours later.
Casual as all hell.
Casual without a fucking care in the world. You would have thought fucking Elvis Presley had come back from the dead and I was like an 18-year-old girl in 1952.
Yeah.
All three of us. Jeremy screamed.
Just celebrating
the existence
of Candy Purple.
Candy Purple walked in and was like, why are you all so fucking excited to see me? Literally, it was like, I've never felt quite, to be honest, that level of like relief.
Oh, sure. Because
last night.
Because you're a child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was literally like, okay, I can get over Pat. I'll cry. I'll miss it. Whatever. It was, this is going, and we were like, I was talking to Jeremy as she was in the other room. I was like, she's going to remember this day for the rest of her life. And she was saying stuff like, I shouldn't have come with you to get your hair cut. This is all my fault.
Oh, Jesus.
And then going, all I can do every time I close my eyes is imagine her getting ripped up by coyote. I was just like,
oh boy.
Oh God.
Oh, wow.
Oh God.
Yeah. Kind of similarly.
Yeah.
Kristen was, 9.9 months pregnant. She couldn't have been more pregnant. We're laying in the bed in our bedroom and we hear this outrageously terrible dog dying sound, right? And we're like, ooh. But it does not sound like our dog Lola. So we're like, we even say like, ugh, a coyote got a dog. We can hear it, right? It's gnarly. And this is going on for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Finally, Kristen's like, I'm just going to go check and make sure it's not Lola, even though I know it's not her voice. So she waddles down the hallway. It takes her another minute to get to the front door. And then I hear, it's us. I run down the hallway. Lola, our dog, who's only this big by this big, but she's half chow. She has a coyote on its back in our yard with its neck in her jaws. That was the coyote's crazy fucking noise. And I like run out and I like scream and Lola lets the coyote go. The coyote jumps over a 6-foot wall. I run out the pedestrian gate. I don't know what I'm going to do to this coyote, but I'm like, I want to kill this thing. So I'm now chasing this coyote and the coyote runs directly across Los Feliz Boulevard in rush hour traffic. Somehow doesn't get killed, gets to the other side and then is just panting and staring at me. Go back inside. Lola is like total adrenal dump. She's in a coma now. Because she just fucking fought a coyote. And the coyote is 3 times the size of her.
Lola's a badass.
She's the baddest motherfucker. And she's the nicest, sweetest dog. She'll be beta to any other dog. But she fought a pit bull under our table one time because the pit bull attacked the littler dog in our house. And she took off the gloves and got dirty.
I might be in love with Lola.
Oh, she's the greatest.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
The long and the short of it, she's not really that into boys yet, or as I always like to say, or girls.
Yeah.
I say it too much, probably.
Well, because if she's not boy crazy at all, you don't really have any sense one way or another, do you?
Yeah. I get the feeling
she's dong,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, I get the feeling she likes a
only
big
you
dong.
could I say that. Oh, Jesus, a big
dong.
Somehow what you said was gross when I said it was kind of cute.
Yeah. Well, I will say that when she was like 3 or 4 and they were in the bathroom and he was peeing, she was like, Daddy, why is your tushy so long and what's it pointing at? So there was some confusion. We straightened it out.
Our daughter is very fond lately of, and she says it with all sincerity.
Mm-hmm.
She's 5.5. It started with Kristen. We call genitalia birds, boys or girls. I mean, we also say vagina, but in my family, we always call it a bird. Yeah, like why are you itching your bird? Why are you squeezing your bird? Why are you itching your bird? Is your bird itch? Just bird.
Yeah.
And so she, like Kristen's peeing, then she stands up and she's about to pull up her pants. And Lincoln goes, Mom, why is your bird ugly? And Kristen goes, what do you mean? She goes, well, what is my bird going to get ugly? And so Kristen goes, well, Lincoln thinks my bird's ugly. And then sure enough, like 2 weeks later, I was peeing. She said, Daddy, why is your bird so ugly? I don't know if she is upset that there's hair involved with it.
I think it's the hair.
Or just that things are saggy. Or I don't know what it is.
Saggy?
Yeah, testicles are saggy.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I was thinking about
my
Kristen.
bird is ugly. I don't know.
I was like, I actually, I keep referencing my show, but there's a scene in the first episode back of the season that's a conversation my daughter and I had where she started asking about pubic hair and my pubic hair, and she started getting hair and was like, Mommy, I'm getting hair. And I was like, well, yeah, you know what? Everyone gets, you know, hair on their privates at a certain time. And just like mommy, you're going to get, you know, pubic hair. And she was like, I don't like mommy's pubic hair. And I was like, wow. Okay. And in my head, of course, I'm just like, first of all, you don't even know.
You don't even really know
How aspirational this is.
Yeah.
So first of all, that's another conversation. And then she was like, do boys get pubic hair? And I was like, yeah, of course. Everyone gets pubic hair. And she goes, well, daddy doesn't have pubic hair. And I was like,
What?
Yeah, he does. She was like, no, he doesn't. I was like, yeah, he does. And she just dug her heels and was like, no, he doesn't.
Interesting.
And I was like, daddy's got pubic hair. I'm not going to argue with you about this.
You just get daddy in there.
And that's what I saw Jeremy later. I was like, well, just so you know, next time she might be like head in the face, you know, just head right there. I think what it was is the pubic hair it's not on the member.
It's harder to.
So right, not on the penis.
Exactly.
Not
So
on the shaft.
I don't think she's noticing, or she's thinking it's not on
The penis itself. Yeah.
and that's the private.
That makes sense.
I don't think she's
the base
knows
She's not-
that much about balls.
Right. She probably doesn't even realize there's balls.
I don't think
there.
she does.
She's
Yeah.
Now, you were a
Yes.
fantastic student. Do you like that transition?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did.
You were a really good student.
I was a very good student. Yeah.
Yeah. You went to Cornell.
I did go to Cornell.
And you majored in non-actory stuff.
I was the equivalent of pre-law. I was a government major. I grew up in LA. I was a very good student. I did theater the whole time, but growing up in LA, I had no one in the entertainment industry. I went to an all-girls school here. That's no longer all-girls. It's Harvard Westlake, but it used to be Westlake.
Oh. Yeah,
And
it's
a very good school.
It's a very good school.
it's very expensive too.
Yeah. And we were not super fancy. So my parents really scrimped and scraped for me to be able to go to a really good school.
You must have classmates that have become, but like Jason Priestley didn't go to your school or anything exciting like
No,
that.
Tori Spelling did.
Did she?
She did. yeah.
There you go. I
Yeah.
knew there would be somebody from the 90210
I actually have a
cast.
scar on my knee from a party she had at her house.
Wait, you went to that fucking house as a
Yes.
kid?
Oh,
in a high school.
Well, and if you don't know, it's famously the biggest house in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Maybe not anymore, but for
it was.
decades.
Yeah, I went, and this is going to still make me sound like I have an alcohol problem, which I really don't think I did. But
Well,
I was
we'll
in high
find
school, and I was very drunk, and there was this like wall, like I was walking in the yard, and I don't know why I was like away from people, and like the wall just like dropped off.
Okay.
And I fell and hit my knee, but I was wearing black jeans. So I thought I'd fallen like in like wet grass.
Okay.
So I pull myself up and I walk over to my friends and I'm like, oh my God, I really just hurt my leg. And they were like, whatever. And I was like, no, seriously, like my leg really hurts. And then I went to the bathroom with my friend Caitlin, I think it was. Not
being
Caitlin
such
Olsen.
a bitch. She won't stop talking about her knee.
And we went to pee together and I pulled down my pants and it was just blood.
Oh my goodness.
Everywhere. Just
boy.
blood soaked through everything. But I was drinking.
In control.
But I couldn't tell my parent. Like, so it was one of those things where it was like, well, I can't tell any adult or anything. And we were at a party at her house. There was some sort of, I want to say butler, but I
Okay,
don't
sure.
know. It's what I imagine
It's
at
a
the time. A
staff, yeah.
staff person where I came out of the bathroom and was like, do you have any Band-Aids? And so they put Band-Aids
What
on
if a
my
doctor
knee.
came out of another room
By the
and
way,
sutured you?
They have everyone.
I wish, because I ended up going home and sleeping. A bunch of us went to go sleep at my other friend, this guy friend's house that night.
Yeah, sounds safe.
And I think at that point I wasn't super drunk when I had hurt myself, but I think I had a couple more drinks at that point. I was 16
Yeah.
and was like, I hurt myself. I'm going to drink. Went there.
I'm gonna thin out my blood.
I'm going to thin out my blood. And I just remember like lying on my friend's bed and my friend Caitlin was going to like change my Band-Aid kind of a thing. And everyone was talking, and then she took it off and the whole place just went dead silent.
Because it was so gnarly.
And I was like, what's wrong? And everyone's like, everything's fine. And then I drove home the next morning and my mom wasn't home, but my stepdad was there. And I was like, I kind of hurt my knee. And he looked at it. He was like, get in the car. And we went to the ER.
Uh-huh.
And they couldn't sew it up because I'd waited too long.
Oh, geez. Do you have a big
So I have
gnarly
kind of a big scar. And I had like an open gaping wound for like a month.
Oh,
It
yeah,
took
yeah.
forever for it to like, anyway,
And you,
Tori Spelling's house.
yeah, so let me ask you, because that's so completely outside of the realm of anything that would have happened to me in high school to go to is she already on 90210? No,
I
she's
don't think so.
so,
But let me say, I went to this fancy school.
Yeah.
My family was not fancy. My friends were not fancy. That was an anomaly. Like
I'm not trying
that
to class
even,
shame
but I'm
you.
saying even then I was like, this is crazy.
well, that's what I want to know. Like,
Yeah.
when you pull up to the biggest
it was
house
like
in Los Angeles,
what the fuck? It was so it was not lost on me. Like this is bananas. I didn't know famous people. I didn't know people in Hollywood. Like it was crazy.
Yeah, and was it like just anything goes? I mean, you're all 16. It doesn't sound like there was a ton of parental supervision.
There were definitely no parents there, but I think it was just a lot of drinking. I'm sure there was drugs. I was not like a big drug person, so I had friends who did it and stuff, but I wasn't doing it. So, but it wasn't anything like less than zero. Like it wasn't like.
Were you friends with her?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just she invited most of the school.
Yeah,
probably.
I think it was just
Why
like a
not?
party,
when you
kind
have
of
the room. It would have felt very
Empty.
awkward if you invited less than 100 people.
Yeah, it
in
would
a
have felt
house.
empty.
Yes,
It would have been
very-
embarrassing.
Very empty.
It would have been embarrassing.
But you went to Cornell, and was that like a? It's way different. you
Yeah,
know?
growing up in LA and being an LA
It's in upstate
person.
New York,
It's in upstate New
Cornell?
York. It's in Ithaca, New York. And it was definitely like culture shock
Uh-huh.
when I went there. But I loved it.
You did.
I loved that it snowed. I loved that it was cold. I loved that it was this little small town. I liked studying. I liked academics. I was like, I would never be an actor. It was
'Cause it
so
was a-
irresponsible.
It was a frivolous endeavor.
It was frivolous. It was irresponsible. It was
vain.
vain.
Sure.
It was also just inconceivable. It was like no, that's just
Silly.
that's silly. It just was
Yeah.
And also it was like, no, I'm an academic person. I'm not. Yeah.
Right. And you had the intention of being a lawyer?
Mhm.
Is your aunt a lawyer?
I have a lot of uncles that are lawyers. I probably
Who
have an
lives
aunt
up
that are
off the 405 on the right side of the 405?
that was my uncle who was a lawyer.
Damn.
God, how do you fucking
I just
remember
blew my
that?
own mind.
Yeah, I lived in their guest. Like they had this little like
Yeah.
room that I lived in for a while.
And not even when I
No,
knew you.
like
right.
no. How did you fucking remember that?
I don't know. I just
This
had
is
the
what I'm
gender
talking
wrong.
about.
I had the gender wrong.
This
I'm
is
going
what
to
I'm
beat
talking
myself
about.
up.
Yeah, you should beat
about
yourself
that.
up about that.
Um,
You were wrong.
So what shifted? Why did you love comedy? Did you watch Saturday Night Live? Did you like?
I came to comedy through musical comedy, like
Okay.
musical theater. So I did musical theater. I have like the lamest like way I got into comedy. It wasn't like I like followed like cool comedians
Right.
or like really stayed up late watching SNL. I love musical comedy. I started in that when I was in high school. I was Mame, and I was the lead in all the musicals.
And you're
like
singing,
and I'm singing.
so you can sing.
You know what? I could fake it pretty well. And I was like in the singing groups and I was in all the a cappella groups, but I had to work really hard for the singing part. That's how I got into comedy. And I was, you know what? It's weird. I feel like because I had 4 brothers, I went to an all-girls school, but I had a lot of male friends. And being funny and like bantery was like my language. And so I knew I was quick and funny and like sharp like that way, but it was like, well, that's in life. I didn't
Yeah.
know being a comedian was a thing, to be honest. There was no improv group on my campus. It was
Right.
like there wasn't sketch comedy. Like I wasn't introduced to any of that until after college.
Yeah.
So I really, the only way in was through musicals.
Now I want to ask you a few questions that I do recognize are getting more and more outdated. And the more I listen to Stern zero in on this topic, I can tell that it's outdated. But regardless, I can't resist. But you're super attractive. You're just bona fide attractive. And if you were super funny, on top of being hot, did you have your pick of the litter? Was it just shooting fish in a barrel? Because to be super hot and funny, it just feels very unfair to everyone else.
I don't know.
It's a hard question to answer.
Hard to answer it without sounding like a dick.
A dickhead, yeah.
I did well.
Yeah.
I was popular.
And you were boy crazy?
I was pretty boy crazy. Yeah. I had a pretty serious boyfriend at the end of high school through part of college.
Yeah.
But we were allowed to make out. I don't know how it worked. Like whatever. But I was like a serial
Was
monogamist.
that really quick? Was that the rule though? Just make out?
Basically. Yeah.
That's a hard thing
It's
to
a
shut
hard
down.
line to. Yeah, it didn't work out that great. Yeah. I feel like I've had an easy go of that in most of my life. Yes.
So, but what's interesting is like, and again, I really run the risk of going like, are you really going to try to get me to feel bad for someone who's super attractive?
And that's why I'm like, what am I supposed to?
Everything comes with a new set of challenges. So if I had my pick of the litter, it would, well, and even in my limited pick of the litter, it was very hard for me to stay with somebody. Like I met people and I'd be attracted to them. And if I thought I could be with them, like all that stuff was it was very hard for me to not pursue that.
Right.
I just think with more options, you have a different problem on your hands. It's like, well, that's kind of taken care of. But now it's like at any moment you could maybe meet someone and be like, oh, I think I could be with that guy.
Yeah. I don't
Was it
think
hard
I spent
for
a
you?
lot. No.
It wasn't.
I'm like, I can't possibly make it sound like.
Well, here's
poor
the
me.
part where I'm going to say poor you that is going to sound like people are going to go, oh, fuck you. But I'll say it for you. You would never say it. But I would say being as attractive as you are was actually a liability at the Groundlings.
I would say I would agree with that, and I would say
It
that's
really
not
was.
Not only to me. That was definitely.
I think Caitlin dealt with that.
Definitely, and there was a period where every woman was cut for a while.
That was pretty good looking.
Yeah.
Yes. And it was
you
a
were
little
kind of told it going in. And I will say the one thing about my youth is I feel like I had a freakish sense of confidence that was unfounded early on.
Yeah.
Way before, I had braces and all that stuff, where I would do stuff at school where I could look back and go, what would have ever possessed me to think that was going to be a cool move?
Right. Like you basically would do the African anteater dance, like from Can't Buy Me Love.
Yes.
And just commit to it.
Just commit, like show up to chemistry class in like an Elvira wig and do my report as a character. Like, but somehow I like navigated through.
Yeah.
I think partially because it was an all girls school. So it kind of took some of the whatever away. So
Did you ever meet my best friend Nate Tuck during that
I don't think
period?
so. I've heard you speak of him and stuff, but I don't know.
And
if
he
and I have
did
ever
level 1 and 2 that's where we met was
Yeah.
Groundlings. But he just has the best story. Like his apex in life was he was in a fraternity at UCSB and he was just crushing, and they hosted some, one of these mixers with a sorority, and he was on the dance floor and he was doing some move, and he felt great the whole night. And then someone had been recording it. Oh. And then like 2 days later they were playing the tape and he goes, oh my God, what am I doing? He was like doing some weird thing with his hands and like pointing and doing. I wish he was here to do it, but objectively a super embarrassing move that he was just in the moment fucking feeling it and no one's really objecting. So and
there was no cameras. I'm telling you, my life would be so different if there had been people able to film the stuff I did, and then I would have had to have lived with it and seen what it looked like after the fact.
I couldn't agree more. And
as much as I lament, like it was harder to get into comedy and harder to start your career when I started because you had to go through the Groundlings, wait for industry night, wait to somehow get a job to sort of get a reel so you could kind of get an agent. Like now you can, if you don't have like an hour's worth of kick-ass comedy material that you have produced, edited, put together that you can send when you're like 21 to an agent and put it online, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But on the other hand,
that part I'm envious of.
Me too. But the other part of, oh shit, I would have posted shit.
Oh, I would be blacklisted.
I would have just been like, what the fuck is wrong with this person?
If you gave 16-year-old me a camera in my room at night, oh my God, you guys, there'd be...
Because I had a confidence.
Sure.
That's the problem.
Yeah,
I would have felt real strong about my choices.
Absolutely.
And really like, people need to see this.
Yes.
No, God, no.
So how do you go from you get your degree and you would naturally now start take the LSAT and apply to law school? What happened in between?
When I went to Cornell, getting away from LA, I think I still did theater while I was there and I still loved it and was not in the theater program, but was cast in a lot of stuff and doing well in the program. And I did study abroad for a year in Spain.
Okay.
In Sevilla.
Barcelona.
Sevilla, southern Spain.
Okay.
And while I was there, I was like, I don't want to admit this to myself, let alone my parents or anyone else, but I think I need to try this. And even if it's stupid and even if it's irresponsible, I need to do it.
Yeah.
And came back and told people and was ignored kind of and just sort of not taken seriously.
Yeah.
But kind of stuck to my guns.
Well, you're a bizarre mix of you're kind of type A,
Mm-hmm.
and yet you're not. You're an interesting mix of like you did everything by the numbers, and then all of a sudden you decided not to do that. And
I would say like I only started going to therapy like within the past 5 years.
Mhm.
And I would say that's the number one thing where I feel like I have these two very different, there's like the carny side and then the very grounded, like responsible side. And they really yell at each other in my head.
Do you think the
all my life.
responsible one is trying to appease one or your other parent?
Yeah. I think it's
mom or dad.
my mom, and then my dad was the one who walked out and was more adventurous and has lived this sort of wild life. But then my mom was the one who was left behind and had to deal with the kids. And I don't want to end up, you know what I mean? And it's those two crazy voices. And someone put it to me that I'm a very disciplined wild child.
Right.
But it's always fighting in me.
Yeah.
And it gets tiring.
Well,
but I didn't realize how tiring I got until like really about 5 years ago.
Well, and again, I can also back to it was discovered it wasn't really the pattern I thought it was. But even maybe your willingness to get close to the flame with some people that are probably more indulgent of their crazy side. I get probably attracted to that.
Bored easily. I like things that are a little shakier, a little riding the line, but to a point.
Right.
Because then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Safe. Like I don't like to jump out of airplanes, but it's the same reason like getting up in front of 10,000 people. You know, I did this tour and getting out with Will Ferrell. Yeah. And, you know, I'd get out in front of the audience and just improv with him and just get out there and just fuck around in front of 12,000 people, you know, or whatever it is, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And I can't believe, you know, there's times where I go, that's so crazy. Who does? But that to me is like, I like a little crazy and I like things to be a little wild, but only to a point. And then it's just always fighting.
It's very German. I read some fascinating piece in Vanity Fair about the German character, the national character. And it's like, they have this, they're drawn like moths to a flame to like, they're very rigid and type A. It just as a national character. It was all about them getting involved in the subprime
Holocaust?
Mortgage. Yes, it was all about there. I think they were in the fire at that point. Yeah,
I feel like there was the other side. My side was closer to the flames.
Yeah, they started the fire in that scenario. But just the fact that they're fiscally they're the most responsible country on the planet. Yet they were buying all these subprime mortgage-backed securities, billions of dollars worth, which they knew better, but they wanted to have their toe in some naughtiness. Like it was just a very fascinating story. But so after a year of tapas in Spain, you come back and you go,
I'm going to go to New York. I'm going to go do theater in New York.
Okay.
I'm not going Hollywood. That's ridiculous.
Cliche.
That's cliche, embarrassing, wanting to be a TV.
Yeah, there's something lofty about doing it in New York.
Yeah, it seemed like almost the more responsible way to be irresponsible. So I was like hedging my bets a little bit.
Sure.
I told my, department counselor that I was doing it and literally just got the dead stare and just like 10 seconds of silence. And then just like, okay, well then after that, which applications do you think? But yeah, I mean, literally it was just like I was speaking another language and my parents were hesitatingly encouraged, but I think they were just like, you know what, she'll take a year off. And then relax for a year. Rumspringa.
Yeah,
exactly.
Rumspringa.
She'll rumspringa.
she'll crawl back to the church.
Yeah. So I went to New York and stayed with a friend of mine for a couple months and then tried to meet agents or whatever, like through my theater program or whatever. And everyone there was like, everyone in New York's trying to get to LA. So if you can start there, go home.
Right.
Live at home and bye-bye.
Yeah.
Like being a theater actress is like the only way to get on the theater is to become successful in Los Angeles.
Right.
And then come back and get a role.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what they said.
Right.
Which was probably good advice.
And so you came back home.
So I came back home, lived at home, and then literally started from the bottom. Like submitted Backstage West to
Sure.
like student films.
Oh, I did that.
And did the blind submissions for Commercial Agent.
Go to 7-Eleven and pick up that
Pick
Backstage.
up the Backstage West. And there was another one
and
too.
slowly convince yourself you're right for every single role.
single role.
You're going
Like, okay, it's a 42-year-old mom.
janitor.
I'm a maternal.
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
younger siblings. I change their diapers. I can, like, so you're every part. And I submitted myself to like student films and a blind submission for Commercial Agent, and I got a job in a restaurant. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just fucking did it.
Yeah, I thought you meant through all those submissions landed you a job at a restaurant.
Yeah.
What restaurant did you work at?
I worked at 17th Street Cafe on Montana in Santa Monica.
Oh, sure.
And worked there for many, many years on and off. I ended up on a kids show called Sweet Valley High relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Based off the book?
Based off the books, which I had been obsessed with as a child. I played Renata Vargas, the Brazilian exchange student.
Yes, I just read this. And were you doing an accent?
So
I
exciting.
did an accent.
Not a Brazilian accent.
No. And in fact, I was like, do you guys want me to actually like learn the accent? They were like, no.
Yeah.
So it is
Just
that character. I'll tell you right now, that character would not hold up today. It's the most. I had fruit on my head.
Oh, perfect. Chiquita
Ruffles,
banana.
cha-cha. I talked about burros and tacos, but then also the Amazon jungle and voodoo. It was every stereotype was thrown into this character.
And into this one Jewish lady.
To this one Jewish Greek
Woodland
lady
Hills.
from Woodland Hills who should have been in law school. And so, but I loved it.
Yeah. How many
And it was a
episodes were you
comedic
on?
relief. I did 22 episodes. It was their last season. So I was like a series regular.
Yeah. And so you made money.
I made money and I did it. And then I got off that and was like, well, I guess this is where it all happens now. Because that show ended. Well, everyone's going to be pretty excited.
You'll be a regular for the next 40 years.
Yeah, no. Then I had to go back to working in a restaurant. And that was a real pill to swallow.
Back to 17. Okay. And how did you find your way to the Groundlings? Did you go see a show?
You know what? I was taking a cold reading acting class with Brian Reese. That was like an audition workshop class. I took a couple real acting classes and was like, this is not for me.
Yeah.
No. And so I was taking that class. I got a couple guest stars and I did those like casting director workshops where you pay to like audition in front of the casting director. And I actually did really well in those and I got some jobs from those.
Oh, that's great.
Whoa,
You're
that
the one
never
person.
happens. Yeah.
I know. I actually like did well in those. And I was getting work here and there, but not enough. And so I was taking this acting class and Chris Parnell was in my class.
Oh.
And we hit it off. So funny and great. And we hit it off. And, you know, I did a comedy in there and you know, comedic scenes, whatever. And he was like, you should audition for the Groundlings. I legitimately didn't know what the Groundlings was.
Even growing
and I grew
up
up here. Like that's how not plugged into comedy I wasn't plugged in on any level into comedy.
I went to another place, which is when you're there drinking the Kool-Aid, I thought the entire world revolved
eventually,
around. Yes.
that's what
Poinsettia
happens.
and Melrose.
And Melrose. Yeah.
I thought that was like ground zero for the
100%.
world. Yeah. So to hear you say that.
So I didn't know what it was. And I was like, oh, I'll go see a show there. And I saw a show and I saw Jennifer Coolidge perform.
Oh,
and I was
treat.
like, what? Yes.
Uh-huh.
And so I like immediately auditioned and got in the program. And, you know, and then as you know, like went through it and, you know, went through it relatively quickly. And then that quickly becomes your everything.
Yeah.
I worked less professionally while I was in the Groundlings than I had worked in my career since basically I had started because you're so focused on the Groundlings.
Yeah, and I think that's what Caitlin ended up getting up against. Was like she was working a lot as an actor, and to have to then write 6 sketches a week was like impossible.
But I will say, and all three of us have the same ending at Groundlings, where we were
booted.
all cut.
Yeah.
And we all were good. That's what was frustrating.
Yeah.
Was I don't think they were.
Even if I
fair
can't see it in
cuts.
myself, I can see it in you guys. Yeah.
I remember
you have
seeing
to
your
at least
shows.
question your own evaluation of yourself, or at least not trust it.
Of course, but you also know how many sketches you get in. There are certain just sort of
kind of know how you play on that stage.
Exactly. And I will say that I attribute my ability to work hard and be able to churn out comedy when there's a deadline and to not have to wait for the inspiration to hit you because is boot camp. You got to fucking write those sketches every week.
Yeah,
It was crazy.
It didn't go my way,
Yeah.
but there is nothing for me that was more life-changing than that place.
Me too.
I had never acted.
Yeah.
I'd learned to act on that stage.
Yeah.
I'd never written sketch comedy. I started directing things there to put on the TV. You know, I do video
Yeah.
bits. I learned to edit because of that place.
I wish, yeah.
Almost everything I've done.
Improv has gotten me almost every job I've ever gotten. A little improv here, a little improv there.
Oh, it
You add a
goes
little
a
something.
long way.
Has gotten me almost every job I've ever gotten.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
And then you and I were almost on a show together right after I got punked. There was a show that had like 4 people on it, and it was all improv, and I can't remember the name of it. And I got offered it.
Did I do it?
Yes.
Was it Significant Others?
Yeah. That was it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was for NBC, and then it ended up being on Bravo for 2 seasons.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
That's right. It was couples in therapy. It was a little bit ahead of its time. And it was
Yes.
partially improvised, like it was improvised, and yeah.
and my agent, you always hear horror stories, but my agent talked me out of it. He
Mine
said-
tried to, and I was like, no, this show is going to be good.
Also, if you're an improver, I could see how the setup was going to lend itself
Yeah.
very well to. If you were good at improv, you were going to shine on that show.
Yeah. And improv, though, in a specific way. Improv,
Real.
not to grounded improv.
Yes.
And that's what I think Groundlings, if I, again, had come through comedy at a different time when UCB was in Los Angeles, I probably would not have done Groundlings. I
Yeah.
will be honest.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't the big, Melissa McCarthy and I were in the same group together.
Yeah.
Melissa can do no wrong. I
By
mean,
the way, even if you were mildly good at it, if you were in with her, you'd quickly go, well, I'm not going to fuck with that.
and there's people
She's
who are
a
just
tornado.
fucking amazing at it. You know, and the
Yes.
other people like Steve Little and just like these people who are just characters and who are
Yes.
just so good at it. My stuff, I was a good writer. And when I could kind of play myself and then do the funny bits around it or whatever, those worked. But when I tried to put on a wig and an accent and a weird
Your
costume,
Brazilian accent.
well, that one, I mean, that one's, I understand. It kills.
Yeah.
Even though you did your school reports in wigs and you started out in wigs.
She burnt herself out.
Burnt myself
Yeah,
out real
yeah.
early. I was not a sketch. I could fake it a little bit, sort of like the singing early on, but it was not my
Yeah.
bread and butter. And if there had been another option that was more improv and improv in your own body, like
Yeah.
improv in your own skin,
Well,
that would have been more. And that's what my career has ended up being more into, is living in that space. That's been the biggest asset for me working for, a long time.
yeah, and that's very
for better, for worse,
UCB.
in some good years and bad years.
Monica did all of UCB.
Yeah, no, I
Since
know.
she's 31, so of course when she got here,
Yeah.
she had that option,
Yeah.
and it was for her.
Yeah, and I was
no-brainer.
allergic to that character. I was very like, Groundlings is characters, and I don't want to do that.
I don't do
I don't
characters.
do
I
characters.
just want to really quickly go back to the Brazilian
Yes.
that you play.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know about you, but I have auditioned for things that have accents, but now I have the asset of
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. But I just go on YouTube, I watch some things, and I do it in my car right before I walk in, and I can do it long enough in the audition.
Yep.
But the Brazilian accent, you're just probably completely
Well,
guessing,
one,
right?
because I spoke Spanish fluently, but they speak
okay.
Portuguese in Brazil.
That's right.
So it was like, fuck. Like it was just like, so it's not Spanish. It sounded Russian, I would say,
you
if you
think
were
you
giving any
do you
sort
think
of
you still
categorization to
Have it? Do you think you remember it?
Oh, Dax.
Yes, I had a
wow.
hunch it was that. Because who was
Let's look at the potion. I don't know.
yeah.
I actually don't think that was it, but it was big. It was big.
Because who am I thinking of? That was it the Chiquita Banana girl?
Charo?
Charo.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Does she do that?
Yeah,
Or
so I'm
like
thinking-
coochie coochie? I don't know. What is
Yeah,
she? Does she
that is what she said.
coochie?
Yes,
Coochie coochie.
Yeah, she would go hoochie coochie. She would, right?
I think so.
Did you ever work a hoochie coochie into the Sweet Valley Twins? What was it?
Sweet Valley High.
Sorry,
Please, how
girls.
dare you?
I know, get
Sorry,
out of
ladies.
here.
Sweet Valley High.
I called you girls momentarily just because that's when you loved it.
I
I
get-
went back.
Yeah.
I'm talking to the girls in
The
you
girls
who
in
love
us.
Yeah.
Sweet
Elizabeth
Valley.
and Jessica Wakefield. Yes,
Oh.
please. See? Thank you.
Jeez.
When I got that role, I was like, this is everything.
Yeah,
I'm
it's-
stepping into books that I loved. My character didn't exist in the books, but I was still like, Todd, and that was Elizabeth's boyfriend, and then Jessica, and like it was literally like stepping into like your favorite book.
It'd be me.
Would have given a left leg to do
Yeah.
that.
It was
Sweet Valley.
It was. I'm not gonna lie, it was special.
It'd be like me getting on Dukes of Hazzard first job.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I'm in the world.
I'm in the
wanted to-
world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you left Groundlings. Did you take it bad? I took it quite bad.
It was. I would say it was a real blow to the ego. Not gonna lie. It was really just. It was. Yeah. It fucking sucked. It hurt. It hurt your feelings. It hurt your ego.
Sure.
It also was like that was my life. It was all my friends.
To me, it was more like leaving a cult.
It was like leaving a cult. Yeah.
Yeah, like my whole identity was that.
All my time was spent there.
All my time. And I had also convinced myself that this is the only avenue towards where I'm trying to go.
Which
I want to
was
be
where?
on Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
Or whatever, Mad TV, whatever.
Yeah.
I wanted to do
Sketch
comedy.
Interesting.
And so I was like, well, that's over. That just ended. Because how else do you get there now?
Yeah.
So it was very shattering in that my identity, and plus now I'm never going to end up anywhere. All those things were very frightening for me.
It was really scary. It hurt really badly. I remember my mom though saying, I know like this is awful and it you know, deserved or not deserved, whatever. It doesn't feel good. She was like, I've never seen you more stressed and unhappy than the past year that you've been in the Sunday Company.
Yeah.
Because it was such constant stress of how many sketches did you get in? Why did that person get a sketch? Oh my God. Well, now I need to write another one. I don't know. That one didn't go well. This one did. And it was just
Oh, and you get Machiavellian about it. Like, oh, well, everyone needs one sketch.
Yeah.
This person can't write. I'm going to write with this person because I'll get in their sketch and then I'll get in this loser's sketch. I mean, it gets insane.
and it just became your whole life.
And all you want is sketches in the show. But then once you get those sketches, now you've got to shop for 3 days for all these wigs and bullshit. And
It was crazy. And then you put it up and you're like, oh my, well, that sucked and it's gone.
yes.
It was not easy. But I will say one thing that I think has served me well is I am one of those people that's like, all right, you gotta, this is where you show yourself what you're made of, Savage. You pick yourself up and you fucking go harder.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing.
And you started doing stand-up
Stand-up.
after that.
I started doing stand-up pretty quickly after that.
Which I thought was, I remember being like kind of impressed that you shifted that quickly into that gear.
Stand-up, I was like, oh, this is what I should be doing.
Right.
Because it was not the wigs and it was doing a version of yourself and it was just straight from your mouth to the audience. You could control what it was. You didn't have to go through a panel of people to get what you wanted to say.
It
It was the equivalent of like being able to shoot my own stuff.
Yeah.
That wasn't available really then.
Yeah.
So I love doing stand-up. I just didn't do it very long.
Right. What, a couple years or something?
I did it a couple years and then, and cannot complain, started getting
work.
quite a bit
Do
of
you
work.
think from that?
I think somewhat from stand-up, and then also I think because I was out of Groundlings, it could fucking focus on my career again.
Right.
Like, because literally, like, I was doing well before Groundlings, and then pretty quickly after Groundlings started working again.
Yeah.
And started
Kind
doing
of an easy to
stand-up.
deduce.
Yeah, it was like,
equation.
oh, maybe if I actually have energy and time to focus on this
Right.
instead of all the wigs and the shopping and the things and the whatever. And got on a couple shows and then got on a show called Dog Bites Man, which I became a writer-producer on. And that was on Comedy Central. And it was Zach Galifianakis, Matt Walsh, 80 Miles, and myself. And it was the guy who did Borat, Dan Mazer. And it was kind of before its time. And it sort of has this like cult following.
All-star.
And that's where I first became a writer-producer on a show. But it's also right when I got married.
Wait,
Go ahead.
how did you get those titles?
Because we were improvising on it, and there were a couple other writers on the show, but we were playing characters based on ourselves as this faux news team. And from Spokane, Washington. And it was sort of in the Borat world. We were playing characters, but everyone on the show was real. And I have a lot of mixed feelings about the show, but it was a really cool, very funny, weird show. It has like a weird cult following. I don't know.
I'm gonna find it.
I think you can find it. It's not easy to find, but you can find it. But we had to trick real people, which I did not
love.
None of us enjoyed that. So it was that was the part. But working with those guys, like the four of us, and we'd be on the road for most of the year. It was crazy, but we basically became writer-producers because we were writing on. Like we were that, and then it's just the way it happened. That's when I started the writing, producing side of my world.
And realizing that you should be
Creating
putting as
the
much time into
content.
that as.
Yeah. And that's really when like everything shifted. But around then so we were working crazy hours and we were on the road. And then I got married. And so nights I wasn't going to work all day and then also go out and do stand up 5 nights a week. Because to do stand up, it's like it's your every night of when you really commit to it, you got to go.
Yeah. Things, I don't know about
31?
for you, but for me, I met Belle when I was 32.
Yeah.
And there's an entirely different thought process.
Yeah.
That makes me think that had I approached any other relationship the way I was at 32, I was like, the next one I'm having a child with. All these other things I might have like let myself be annoyed by someone else. I was just like, no, I found someone with good character that'd be a great mom. I will make this work in a weird way.
But also, well, I think I was still like a little like, I don't know if I'd ever get married and da-da-da-da-da. But then we met and I remember driving home after like one of our first dates and being like, I think that's the last person I will go on a date with.
Really?
And then I was like, what the fuck was that thought?
Uh-huh.
And then just kind of knew, but it was that kind of thing. And it wasn't like I was like, oh, I want kids right away. But it was like, I've seen how other relationships, I've been through enough long-term relationships.
Yeah.
This is a good person and this is a person of quality. My stepdad was really sick at the time and had just been diagnosed with cancer.
Uh-huh.
And that shifted my whole perspective also in a relationship and what you look for as I was watching someone begin the end of their life.
Yeah.
And it really shook me and made me look at Jeremy in a completely different way and was watching somebody how they live the end of their life and what is important to them and what isn't. And really was like, oh, I need to stop fucking around. And this is the quality of person that you actually want to make a life with.
Yeah, a couple of things. I too but this was recently, was kind of fucked up by watching my mom care for my stepdad and just going, oh, I hope I deserve that. Like, it's so profound when you witness it. And to go like, God, I hope I can lay in bed and let someone care for me and feel like I deserve that or have earned that. Cause it's so, I hate anyone to help me. I don't want a favor from anyone. So to be in that position, you better feel like you deserve to be there. I don't know. That's what I walked away with, is like,
I think I walked away with just going, he was sick for a year and a couple months. And when I tell you that he gave me the greatest gift in terms of watching somebody get diagnosed, get sick, think there's some hope, the hope's taken away, and then know that the hope is gone and then still have a little bit of couple months.
Yeah.
To watch someone go through that, he modeled what I have to imagine is the most noble way that anyone could go through that experience and taught me, so morbid, but like, when it is my time, that's how you do it for yourself and for your family. And he was so still concerned about what our life was going to be after he was gone.
Right.
And my mother and me and just all of us. And that was a big priority for him. And he was obviously not ready to go, but sort of took it in stride. It was incredible.
Yeah.
But it was watching his respect for my mom and love, but also her. It was just all of it. It was just like, oh, this isn't just like, oh, this is my boyfriend and we like have fun together and we make jokes.
Yeah.
It really knocked me out of that comedy
right.
spiral that I was in a little bit.
What's the longest you had dated a guy prior to Jeremy?
I feel like I had like a series of a lot of 1.5 relationships.
Okay.
Like probably 4 or 5 or 6. Like I was a serial monogamist.
Right.
Well, you had a serious girlfriend.
Well, I was with Bree for 9 years.
You were with Bree for,
and before her, I was with Carrie for 5 years. So I went 5 years, 9 years, now 11 years.
Yeah.
But I had which I've talked about, is I had a very liberal arrangement and both of those. So it wasn't like, weirdly, I knew I couldn't have gone 9 years in my 20s. I just knew myself. I was like, if this is an expectation, it's not going to happen. At any rate, though, when I was 32, I was like, I kind of flipped. If I had given you a top 10 things I was looking for in a partner at 29, when I hit 32, I almost like flipped it upside down. I was like, okay, hotness, fun. Mind you, Kristen's all
I was
those
going to
things.
say, Kristen is, and I'm not one of those people like, I love it. I'm not a false compliment giver. I'm not
Sure.
whatever. When I worked with your wife, I literally was like, this woman is like so smart, so funny, but down to earth, so grounded. I worked with a lot of people. I don't know. And she's someone like we just hit it off like gangbusters.
Mm-hmm.
And we only hung out really briefly on that. And we really bonded. And then
she'll be the first to tell you she's really attracted to alphas. So like, I think she was very drawn to you because she's like, oh, I get it. Okay, great. She's in charge. Andrea's in charge. But when you see Kristen on a set, you almost think, oh, someone this nice isn't supposed to succeed. There's almost been like a glitch in the matrix. You can't be kind, can you? And still end up somewhere. And
she just she was just one of those people that was just like, she has everything and is still just a cool, normal person.
She is. But when I met her, there were things that had I still had the 1 through 10, I wouldn't have picked her. I flipped it.
Yeah.
And then the bottom half of that list ended up increasing over time, weirdly and ironically and counterintuitively. Yeah. But anyway, it's just fascinating how you end up getting the priorities you should probably always have, but whatever, I guess.
But it takes something. But I think in my case, like I took like a jarring life event to put some stuff in perspective. And I say this openly to my husband. I'm like, I don't know if I would have appreciated you
out of that
in
context.
the beginning, out of that context, because he was more straight-laced, more, I think in my head, I was like, oh, he wears a suit to work. He's more straight. Like I'm more,
let's be
comedy,
super honest. Because we have a girlfriend that we talk with a lot about her relationships, and she'll go, oh, that guy's not funny enough or whatever. And I'll just ask the question, is it truly that he's not funny enough, or is it your own ego needs the approval of someone you respect? Like, is it really just, I've identified this person's hysterical, so if I can make them laugh, I'm valuable. And that's just probably not the greatest approach.
It's not.
To something sustainable.
It isn't.
No.
And also I found that not, again, every funny comedy, there's amazing, very well-adjusted and great comedy people that I love.
Will Ferrell, you mentioned.
Great. But there are people I know and love. But also there is something enticing about that, being on that banter.
The roller coaster
ride where it's just like, you're so, making each other laugh. But a lot comes with that too.
Oh yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
But it's, it took a brain adjustment.
Yeah.
And
sometimes there's only room for one of those people in a relationship.
Well, that's the other thing is,
you can't both be there's only one spotlight.
Although I know people who are both legitimately hilarious who are in wonderful relationships. Like they've made it, they make it work somehow.
Yeah. My thing was, it was the baby clock was ticking. Like I didn't have the death thing, but for me, were you certain like I will have a kid before I leave, or was that a slow evolution?
I knew I wanted kids, but I will say I was like, okay, I've worked really hard to get my career going. Like it was very much a scary, like, fuck. Well, I'm just like, I had just done Dog Bites Man. I just like, after that sold a bunch of projects, and then I did Step Brothers, and Step Brothers was coming out, and I was pregnant.
And you kind of had gotten brought into the Gary Sanchez. They liked you, and as you said, you went out on the road with them.
Yeah, I did a comedy tour with him, and a bunch of other
that's a
comedy
hugely
guys.
flattering group to be accepted into. Yeah, I'd be kind of wanting to ride that out a little bit.
And it was just like, how's my identity going to change? And there is that fear. I did come up through comedy in very much, which I'm trying to change in my head now, of that like compliment of like, oh, you're like one of the dudes, you're that thing. And I sit there and I am trying now to go, don't have that be the highest standard. Actually, you're kind of like a guy. I always took that as sort of a compliment. And then if somebody would call you feminine, it was like, fuck you. And it's like, no, you can actually still be funny and still be feminine and still be a woman. And that doesn't mean that you're lame. Yeah.
Doesn't raising a daughter kind of put it into perspective in some way? It's like, no, I want her to be celebrated for being exactly what she is, not
100%. But I went to a feminist all-girl school, and I considered myself very strong and feminist, but it was through a lens that I didn't quite fully
subconsciously,
realize.
you know, they are holding the position of power. So
Yeah.
if you're being told you're like them, you
Yeah.
go, well, then power's the next,
Exactly.
whatever the thing is.
And it's accepted, and you're accepted by the cool, it was inevitably that was the cool crowd. And there weren't a lot
And guys
of
are
women.
much funnier than women. I think everyone
Obviously,
would agree.
and then there's that. No, and in my world, there weren't as many women in Groundlings. The shows I got on, the movies I did were primarily all men.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until kind of later that I started to get a group of really funny women in my life. But it was not until the past like 8-10 years.
And did you, in general, get along with women all through
I
your
did.
20s and 30s? Yeah.
But they just weren't around that much. They just weren't at the comedy clubs as much. It was
Right.
mostly men.
Yeah, it was probably 1 in 10 or 12.
1 in 10 or 12. So everything I did, I had girlfriends and and I always got along with women, but it just wasn't, there weren't a lot of us around me. And then I think right after me, like in New York at UCB, there were a lot of amazing, hilarious women.
Yeah, I feel like
that I
Polar
didn't
led a
men.
movement.
She did. I
Yeah.
really do. And I feel like now I have a lot of contemporaries who are like 5 years younger than I am, 3 years younger than I am, and below, who are fucking hilarious women who I am very happy to call my friends. But I didn't have that. So it was very much like, I'm going to have this baby, and then what's going to happen? And part of it came true. Part of it, I will say, after I had my daughter, it was suddenly all my guy friends that I would shoot the shit with and hang out with all the time suddenly were like, how's the baby? How's mama?
Well, hadn't you been cast as a regular in something, and then you got pregnant during it, and then you got bumped to whatever?
I couldn't do it. Party Down.
Party Down.
I'd done the pilot. When it got picked up, we had done this little pilot for Rob Thomas, and it was kind of he had done it on his own because he wanted to like do exactly what he wanted to do and then shop it around. And it was being shopped around. And then in that time period between that, I did Step Brothers and had just sold, I think, 2 other shows, like projects, whatever. And then I just got pregnant, and then he called and was like, oh my God, I got picked up. And I was like,
Entirely
I'm pregnant. And he was like, well, when are you due? And it was like, oh, I'm due in March. He's like, we don't start shooting till January, and you're the love interest. So it was just like, can't do it. And then of course that show ended up being like the coolest, best show. And that was like, oof, okay.
Yeah, that's rough.
And it was like, okay, here we go. And then
Here we don't go.
here we don't go. And I will say it was hard. Suddenly I was not thought of like the funny girl to hang around with anymore.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of work to recharge back.
How many years was that? A 2-year thing? A 1-year thing?
I would say longer than that. I kept working and I kept selling stuff. Like it was the kind of thing where every year I'd sell a show to develop, and then I would do and be in a pilot and wouldn't go. So it was a lot of like those heartbreaks over and over of putting your heart and soul into something and then it not going, and a lot of seasons of that. And I also, love being a mom, and my daughter's like, I know people say it, but truly the best thing that's in my life and all of that. But it was hard. I was feeling like, okay, well, I guess it's just mom roles coming my way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
And they're not well written.
Yeah.
And they're not nuanced. Yeah. And they're not funny.
They're to drive someone else's
story. And it was that, or like a cougary boss, and it was hard.
So how'd you get your show made?
I will say after my 7th show that I'd sold didn't go.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not developing another script. And I was like, I am going to do a show where I have funny stories that I want to tell, and I have a certain tone, and it's edgier, and it's a version of me that shows a nuanced mom who's still dirty and edgy, but also trying to still be a good person, but has a good marriage, like all these things. And I'm going to shoot something, and I'm going to shop it after the fact. I'm going to shoot it, and I'm not going to develop the script. And I just sort of willed it kind of to happen. And I, called on a lot of friends to be in it. So Judy Greer was in it, and Jason Mantzoukas was in it.
Well, I was going to say, I
James
saw
Squibb
was in it, and he was just in here, and boy, do I have a crush on him now.
He's great.
What a sweetheart.
Yeah. And he's, you kind of call in all your favors. And then June Squibb, who I didn't know, I wrote her like a blind letter. And she came and did it for the just for something I was shooting.
Yeah.
And Judith Light did the same thing, and they came and did it for free and shot 14 minutes of what ended up being a lot of what the first episode was, and then shopped it around. Once it was like, you can't buy it and then try to turn it into something else. You can't whatever.
Right.
This is what it is.
Now, this is a dangerous question, and I asked, this is the last one I'll ask you. So knowing that we were one time under the control of a cult, willingly and happily,
and happily.
By the way, some of my happiest moments of life were in that cult.
Yeah.
Do you ever question that we're still in one? Like when I hear you say, well, I have the thing I dreamt of, and it's incredibly time consuming, and it's a ton of work. Do you ever sometimes go like, oh boy, I guess I'm still in a cult because what is that? What am I doing?
I don't think I do.
Okay, good.
I don't think I feel like I'm in a cult. I do feel like I appreciated season 1 to such a high level, even though I was tired beyond I've ever been tired. Because I was like, you know what? I've been on the other side of this. And as someone, when this is happening as a woman and when you're over 40.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're aware
of how special it is.
Yeah.
And it's not been a big show. It just came out on Netflix recently and it's really like launched again. And it's been like in the top 20 shows every week on Netflix.
Oh, that's great.
Even though it's not marketed and stuff. So it's really getting a big word of mouth and the people who know the show like love it. And it's just been like so affirming of going, it was the idea of like, if you haven't really made it by the time you're 40 as a woman, like, okay, you'll keep working, but nothing that exciting is going to happen.
Yes.
And to have like that I was able to do this and really it is my vision and really do it.
You're 62. People don't realize
no, people don't realize it. I'm actually 63.
Oh, you
I just turned 63. Yeah.
Oh,
but I lie.
We're in February
I say I'm 58.
already.
Yeah. I lie and say I'm 58.
No, I guess what I meant.
So I do, but I see what you're saying.
I guess what I meant is, and again, I've had the great fortune of getting to make 3 movies that are exactly what I wanted them to be. I did that. That's great. I now, the ego has separated pretty, I think, healthily from the doc. It's kind of like, the idea of needing to be on a show that people talk about or that my peers watch, all those things are starting to mean less and less as I see the end approaching and I have 2 little kids. So for me, I guess what I'm saying is my own self-inflicted cult of prestige, recognition, cachet, all these things that I definitely coveted and valued. I have in the last 3 years kind of started to look at carefully and go like,
what is
and
that?
then what? And then I die. And then, you know, what is all this? Is it all as important as I think it is?
And I don't
that's a
say this slightly.
Thought,
no, but I don't think that's what drove me before. Like fame or recognition. That's not why I got into it. I can truly, honestly.
But what about cachet? Like being
respected by my peers.
Yes.
That has been a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Because I felt like behind the scenes, I was always very respected by my peers. And then I had that instance where like, I was maybe ahead of people and working more and then stopped and had my baby. And then all these people who were sort of not as advanced in their career started skyrocketing past me.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it was like, her. Oh yeah, remember she used to be fun. Like it just became, and it was like, I know. Oh yeah. I've worked just as hard. And so that has driven me some, but honestly, it really, I think because it happened later in life when I was doing this, it really was like, I just want to make the show I'm fucking proud of. I think the one thing that I am realizing is contentment is not for me. Like I do get driven by being slightly agitated and like, well, no, I want to fucking show how this is done. Like, contentment doesn't breed happiness necessarily,
right? Or
feeling productivity.
Yeah,
I definitely am more productive when I'm a little angsty and a little feeling like I'm not getting to do what I want to do and that kind of stuff.
You did just make me think of something funny, which is when I did this movie's at Thura, and there's a cute little boy, Josh Hutcherson, and this cute little girl, Kristen Stewart. No one knew either of them. And like 4 years later, I was like, sweet. So she's got this vampire franchise and he's got this Hunger Game things. Great. This is good for them. They're both making 30, 40 million this year. That's great. Those little kids that I horse
But
around
at least
with
when they're that young, you're like, well, that's different. But when it's sort of like your
both
peer.
Deserved it.
And they deserve it and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would say that's sort of my thing is I'm not probably meant to be the like contented just like, yeah, let's just chill.
That's a
out.
good thing to know about yourself and admit about yourself.
Yeah.
So when does season 2 come out?
January 9th.
January 9th.
Yeah. So
On
I'm
True
in the last
TV.
legs on True TV. It's streaming on Netflix, season 1 right now. And then season 2 will come out after we finish airing it on True TV.
Well, Andrea, I love you, and I'm delighted that you have continued to work and get to do your own stuff and kept writing, and just we did not let it kill us. And again, it gave me a tremendous jolt of joy to bump into you at the airport.
I know, in a time where you were not having a lot of joy.
Right, I was en route to some ugly business, but it
Yeah.
was so nice to see you, and
know.
I hope I bump into you more and more. And
I hope so too.
any
It's nice to see
airport
you.
around the country, I'm happy to.
Great. We'll
Yeah.
schedule it.
It is really weird. You expect to see someone at JFK or LAX, but to have
It was in
be
Portland.
walking through the food court in Portland and to
Yeah.
see you was really.
Yeah, it was like, it really I was like, wait.
I almost felt like, am I seeing a famous person? You know what I'm saying? You have that
Totally.
weird
You have
feeling
that weird,
of
like, oh, I know you. Oh, no, I don't. Why
recognize
would I
that
say this
person.
person? I
Yeah.
would not. Why would I say hi to this person?
But in fact, I knew you.
Yeah, no, I know that. Yeah, that was nice. It's very nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you. Again, you're holding
only
up like
good feelings.
gangbusters. I'm really proud of that for you. 63, you don't look a day over 38.
Trying to hold it together.
All right.
All
Good
right.
luck to you.
Thanks.
Everyone watch I'm Sorry. Netflix. Catch up before January 9th. And then, hit the ground running.
Yeah,
All right. Love you.
love you, buddy.
And now my favorite part of the show, the fact check with my soulmate, Monica Padman. Oh, won't you check my facts tonight? Oh, won't you tell me if I was right? Oh, making sure it all checks out. Fact checking, girl, you make the armchair world go round. Guess who that's from?
Who?
I'll give you a hint.
Wobby Wob?
He's a perfect fucking 10.
Charles?
Charles Curtis submitted that.
Charlie. That was my favorite one.
It was?
Yeah.
I knew you guys were circling each other.
Oh, Charlie.
This is such a slow burn. I
Curtis.
love it. I love it.
Thanks, Charlie. Thanks for taking the time to send us some songs.
A perfect 10 level fact check
That's
song.
right. Wouldn't expect anything less.
I want it.
Great.
Great.
So, Andrea
So let's talk.
Savage. Oh, sure. Let's talk. How's your day?
Well, it was long as I was just lamenting. God, I have a gratitude problem sometimes.
You said it. Your New Year's resolution is going to be to stop complaining.
You're right. In 2019, I'm going to try to stop complaining.
Yeah.
It's a problem for me. And it's very weird. Now that I've assessed that it's an issue, and of course I'm trying to get to the bottom of why I do it.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I think it's just a pattern my family has,
Yep.
And then the other aspect of it is I think I feel guilty for how lucky my life is.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's very lucky. And
Yeah.
so when good things happen to me, I'll try to put like a negative spin on it so it doesn't seem like I'm
Sound
a
as good.
fucking brat. Yeah,
Yeah.
but all that ends up doing is making my memory of things tainted.
It also doesn't achieve the thing that you think you're achieving. It doesn't make people think like, oh, actually, that does sound kind of shitty. They're like, oh, this person is not grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's altogether counterproductive.
But it's also sometimes necessary to complain. It's not good to keep all your complaints to yourself and let them fester.
What if I just assign a pillow at home and then I put my mouth in the pillow and complain for like 10 minutes? Will that count as not breaking my resolution?
Yeah, you can try that. I don't think it's going to work. What?
I thought of an interesting tool to help me achieve my resolution is I thought because I'm going to complain. There's just no way. So I was thinking every time I complain, I have to put like $500 in a jar.
Okay.
And then at the end of the year, I donate that to a good cause.
Oh, that's great.
That's a good idea,
Every
right?
time you complain, you're going to put
Yeah, and
$500?
I do not like partying with $500, so I feel like it'd be a great motivator for me.
Some charity's going to get a lot of money.
Oh, you think so? You don't think?
I think you're going to do a great job, but I think in a year, you're going to at least complain 10 times.
Oh, minimally.
Right.
Yeah,
that's-
someone's getting $5,000
Yeah.
in 19 for sure.
That's what I'm saying.
No question about that. I once knew an agent who he had made a New Year's resolution. I think his was when he not to talk bad about people.
Sure.
Which, by the way, another great resolution.
Great one.
I don't think I can tackle that in 19 and not complain.
It's a lot.
But when he did it, he had a rubber band on his wrist, and he would transfer it to the other wrist. And again, I don't know what the end goal was. Just it really was a visual indicator that he had done it, and then he had to move the thing over to the hand.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Did the hair tie have spikes on it?
No, it wasn't a hair tie or anything like that.
What's a hair shirt?
A hair shirt is this shirt they made in medieval times that was made of coarse boar's hair. And when you put it on, it cut you and scratched you and was itchy, and it was just altogether torturous to have the thing on.
Oh, I didn't know that. And that's why Nate Tuck made a movie called Hair Shirt.
Well, yeah, you're right. I was going to say, no, he made a movie called Too Smooth, but they actually changed it from Hair Shirt to Too Smooth.
Right. I'll never forget that.
You'll never, as long as you live.
Never.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay. I just meant, did he have spikes on his hair tie? Kind of like a, in like old biblical times where they had to like flagellate. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, I think
Flagellate.
Well, flatulence is farting.
we know that. But
Yeah.
I think
Flogging.
flogging is maybe what I mean.
Yeah, but I think you're right. Flagration.
Yeah, there's something.
Yeah. It's a scary word to be saying over and over again because I feel like you could trip up and say the FAG word.
Oh.
That's what's making me nervous about
I'm nervous about the accidentally just saying farting.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. Well, anyway.
Anywho.
That's a good idea. I like that resolution, and I think you're going to do a great job.
Oh, thank you.
My resolution is sort of similar.
Oh, it is?
Mhm.
What's yours?
When people say, "How are you? How are things?" to not respond with, "Great, I'm really busy."
Oh, yes. So that's a similar thing.
Or
Weirdly.
It's similar, but it's not. I mean, the reason I'm stopping is because I'm afraid it's coming off similarly, but that's not what I mean when I say it. I'm never like, "I'm so busy."
Right, like you're not complaining.
No, I'm just saying like, "Oh, it's great. I'm really busy." And I
Right.
mean that like in a good way, because being busy is good.
Mm-hmm.
And I always make sure I say that in the sentence, like, really busy doing this. It's all good things.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to
Sounds
stop
a little
saying
bit like
it.
a complaint. No, I mean, right, you could think it is.
People could think it is.
Yeah.
And I just also,
Aren't that busy.
I'm not busy at all. I'm not doing anything. My days are pretty free. No.
You're quite busy. Let someone else say it for you. That's
Well, I
by
don't
the
need
way.
that to eat
Well, I'll do
either.
it from now on. Wherever we're together, and someone says, "How you doing, Monica?" and you'll say, "Oh, I'm doing great," and I'll go, "She's busy.
They'll say, "How are you doing, Monica?" He was like, "She's busy."
She's too busy to answer that."
No. But
Also,
anyway,
I
that's
lost
fine.
my leg last week, and I love it. I'm so much lighter.
That's the other thing. Like, you're allowed to complain a little bit.
Okay, I guess I know what one is a little bit pathological or
Sure.
destructive.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if I get like a speeding ticket on the way home,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say that. I'm gonna just hide all the.
And you
I
can't
do think it's
say-
gonna affect my thinking though, and my perception of the world. I think if I'm
Mm-hmm.
always like, if something good happens to me, my instinct's to almost figure out some little bad thing about it, so that
Sure.
no one thinks I'm too spoiled.
Uh-huh.
So I'm really just looking for the bad thing in everything, because I know I'm gonna have to repeat it.
Yeah.
And that's not the way to do it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I think that's a noble cause. When I say I'm busy, I'll put $500 in a jar, and then at the end of the year, I'll donate to your noble cause of not complaining.
Oh my goodness. Then maybe I
Yeah.
should give you the money. Maybe we can get out of this with a net zero loss and still have put $500 in a jar often. I'll call you and be like, could you say you're busy a few times? Because I really
complain.
I complained quite a bit this weekend. I found a brick of gold in my ass, and I just told everyone how uncomfortable it was.
Andrea.
Andrea Savage.
Yeah.
What'd you discover?
So she said, we talk about dentistry, and you claim that it has one of the highest suicide rates. And then she said, also she thought maybe one of the higher drug addiction
Ooh.
rates in
Professional Doctoring?
out of all these professions. Okay, the dental field is considered extremely competitive and requires significant technical skill to deliver optimal oral care. Like doctors, dentists work in a field that is rife with stress from working long hours and complaints from patients. Researchers suggest that dentists are nearly 1.67 times as likely to commit suicide compared to an average job. My
It's
problem
almost twice as likely.
but what's an average job? Like,
Actor, director, writer.
yeah, that's your average job.
Yeah.
I think on this, it said doctors were even above dentists.
For suicide.
Yeah. But I just have all this research I was doing, and none of it felt very conclusive to me because, like, they're not saying, like, compared to construction workers or compared to, like, what are they comparing it to? Lawyers. Like, I don't know.
Well, do you think they just took the suicide rate among dentists and then they took the suicide rate of the
everyone.
population?
Maybe.
And it was 1.6 times higher.
Maybe.
And they just know those other people have some other occupation. So let's just call it your general job.
Yeah. Then they should say then the general population because that's not really correct.
Right.
Anyway, it seems like
I'd
there's
imagine
enough.
people who are habitually unemployed kill themselves often as well.
I would think so.
I mean, I'll just guess.
I would think so. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
My thought about why dentists kill off themselves with such frequency and regularity is that they are both doing a job that's incredibly tedious.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if your whole workspace for your job was 3 inches by 4 inches?
Yeah, sure.
Just think about that.
Some people would really get off on that.
Sexually?
Yeah. No. Yes. No.
Like bondage people?
No. People
But you
get
know what I'm saying?
people
It's
get
like-
a high off of that of like completing some. Like your sister has that. I think she really.
Yeah, she's a picker. We
Yeah.
used to call her a picker growing up.
And she if we have like knots in a necklace or something, she
Mhm.
likes getting them out.
She's the first stop for that kind
She
of thing.
should maybe be a dentist.
Yeah, I'll pitch that to her when we get home.
Great.
But yeah, just to have your whole world, your whole professional world exist in this tiny little cave that's poorly lit, generally smells. People aren't there because their teeth are fucking great.
Well, yes.
They're not there to be
yes, they
judged
are.
for a great teeth contest.
Well,
It's like what I say about proctologists. It's not only just that you look at butts, which is a bummer, but you also look at people who thought I need to go see the proctologist. It's not like they're just looking at healthy butts all day and then 1 in 10 has,
that's
a fissure or a
disgusting.
hemorrhoid, one of these.
A doodad.
doodad. You're seeing people that have a broken rectum or anus or something.
That's
So
true.
it's a double whammy.
I would say the dentist is not that because people are supposed to be going to the dentist regularly.
They are, but I would like to know how many people, what percentage of the population is just there for their yearly checkup and what percentage is like, oh my God, my mouth hurts so bad. I can't even think. There's this weird smell in there. I mean, I just got to imagine
Ew.
it's not great. One of my theories was that the workspace is too tiny.
Correct.
Then secondly, in general, people hate what you're doing to them.
That's true.
You're,
Well,
like,
that's what they say here.
torturing.
Patient complaints from patients.
Yeah, but that to me, complaints from patients felt a little misleading, like malpractice, like complaints
Oh,
for
no.
errors. But I think people just in general, they don't even want to go see you.
Yeah.
They have anxiety about it. They're mad to see you.
Yeah.
And then they hate what you're doing to their mouth. The whole thing's thankless.
But to me, this is dentist privilege because
You can check your dental privilege.
I'm just kidding. But actually, like dental hygienists are the ones doing all the work. The dentist comes in.
Amen, sister. Preach.
The
Preach.
dentist-
And it's always a woman. It's always a
say that.
woman.
Actually-
and then the man dentist comes in.
Yeah, for 3 seconds.
She's done all the work.
Yep.
He says bite down.
And he takes all the credit and then he kills himself. Like he did
Well, maybe
something crazy.
Well, that's maybe a new element is that we didn't even think of is that he feels fraudulent because he's not even doing anything. I just want to say we're in dangerous territory because if
Okay.
we go to the dentist and the dentist has heard this, he's gonna fuck our mouths up and he's gonna poke.
Well,
he's gonna do that scaling.
Not to
where they-
worry. I don't go to the dentist.
Nor do I. Nor do I. Do you really not? Because I really don't.
Okay, I used to go twice a year as you're supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved out here and I didn't go.
Right.
But
And life carried on just fine, right?
But for a few years, I would still go when I went home. I would when I went home, I would make the appointment and go.
Yeah.
My mom was like, you need to just get a dentist in LA. And I was like, ugh, fine.
Mom.
And then Mom. And then I didn't. So.
Yeah. And that was 8 years ago?
Who lost? Her.
Yeah.
And
You
me.
won. Well, I think I told this story that Kristen was really on me. You got to get checked up. You got to get checked up. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, my teeth are great. And I finally went. It had been, I think, 8 years since I had been prior.
Yeah.
And I promise I did not lead the witness. I said to the doctor, Dr. Keene, I said, Doc, if you had to guess when my last checkup was, when do you think it was? And he said, well, you had a mild tartar buildup. And he goes, yeah, I don't think you were here 6 months ago, but I also don't think it's been a year.
Wow.
And I was elated. And I came home and
bragging so much.
Rubbed her nose in that.
Sure.
Here's another thing that's going to really gross people out and lose me a lot of friends.
Okay.
And you know this about me. I don't floss.
Oh, I know that about you.
And I'll tell you why.
Well, and your rationale's all wrong.
It is not all wrong.
Yes, it is.
When I do floss, there's nothing there. I see other people floss and there's junk on it that they need to floss. There's debris, flotsam and jetsam.
Ew.
And I have very tight teeth.
Okay.
They're very snug. It's like the bricks of Machu Picchu. They don't even understand how it's sticking together without mortar. That's my teeth, Monica. I can barely get a piece of floss in there. And when I do, there's nothing in there. It's a waste of everyone's time. The floss's time, my teeth's time, my time.
No.
Yes.
No, you're wrong. It's not about it is about getting stuff out, but it's about gum health. It's not about just getting the plaque out. It's about for your gums.
Right, but it's for your periodontal health. But what's causing the regression of the gums is a lot of bacteria, buildup, gunk, flotsam, jetsam, and debris. And so I don't have that to cause the gum issues.
All right.
Okay? I don't have gingivitis. All these things you want to accuse me of.
Yet.
Yeah.
You know who loves dental health?
Who?
My father.
Oh.
He's very into dental health.
Ashok loves dental health.
He's very disciplined.
Well, he would have got along great with that's weird. My father said at least twice a week, be true to your teeth and they won't be false to you.
And you didn't listen.
Well, no, he had veneers. So he had no business saying that. But
well, no, he is. He does have a business. He's saying, look at what happens if you get cautionary tale.
It was never phrased that way. It was more like, if you want a set of shiny pearly whites like this, be true to your teeth and they won't be false to you. He mostly said it to children when we met children because it's kind of a cute play on words.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, also there's no evidence that there's a higher rate of drug addiction.
Oh, there's not?
No. I looked at multiple things that said no.
That would be hard to know because they would have to admit to that. And I would imagine that puts their license in jeopardy. So they're very incentivized to lie about that.
As are most people, to be honest. Okay.
Except for actors.
You said I was an alcoholic. Speaking of addiction. I'm not. We don't think. You think I am?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I think you're right on the edge. Like you certainly like it more than most.
No, I don't think more than most. Do you?
Yeah. I think if we were looking at a bell curve, you would be in the 70 percentile.
See, I think this is a symptom of this thing what you do where now you created a narrative about me where I like Moscow mules and I drink wine and I do all this stuff that's fun for us to say and do, but it's not true.
I'm basing this solely on what you've told me. Like you'll go, I drink 5 nights a week.
No, not 5.
You said that to me in the past. And I thought, that's someone who likes drinking. Like, let's just say maybe the quote normal person might drink one of the nights on the weekend.
I don't think that's true.
You don't?
No. I think your average person has wine at least 3 times a week.
Really?
I think so.
Look, again, I'm all for it. I think what you're doing is fantastic.
I'm not accusing you of judging me. I'm just telling you.
And I want you to even drink maybe a little more. I think you could get away with a little bit more drinking.
So if you really thought I was an alcoholic, or on the edge.
No. I don't think you're an alcoholic. I don't think you're on the edge. I think you enjoy drinking above the mean average of people who enjoy drinking.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think I'm probably dead average.
Okay.
Definitely not below average.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. Like, if I'm just comparing to my friends, the people in my life, that's hard to know. Yeah.
It is. It's how for years it didn't, well.
But I've also been in different groups of friends. Like, if I'm comparing to, like, my friends from home and then my friends here, I feel like it's all the same.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think 'cause 5 nights a week is on the
I don't know if it's fine.
more enthusiastic end of the spectrum.
But it's not. See, yes, you're right. And that sounds like a lot. But it's not like I'm drinking a lot every time. It's like 1 glass of wine 1 night.
Yeah.
1 night, 1 glass. The next night.
Second night, 2 glasses.
2. Third night, 3.
And on Saturday, 5. Okay.
No. 1 or 2 glasses of wine. I don't really drink liquor anymore, really, unless I'm at a bar.
Yeah.
Which is very rare.
Right.
Whatever. I feel like you're not. You're like tight-lipped over there.
Really?
Yeah.
That's all in your head. I tell you everything. I think within the bounds of the law.
Why? What do you want to tell me that's not?
Well, sometimes
in the
I want to
bounds
kill you.
Oh.
You know.
Okay.
Like sometimes I want to.
Like when you wrote that in your journal that you wanted to kill me?
That I wanted to kill you. Had a nightmare. I said I wanted to kill you in my journal. But yeah, sometimes I think about killing you and then role playing with your corpse.
Oh.
Putting you in funny costumes, tying you to a chair on railroad tracks. You know, the general stuff.
Normal stuff.
Normal stuff.
Yeah, normal illegal
ideations, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine. Everything is fine.
It's all fine. You said that you watched a documentary about doctors in England trying to get MDMA legalized because the rate of the emergency room admissions were much less than alcohol. And then I asked you what that documentary was, and you didn't know.
No clue.
So I couldn't
substantiate that.
No.
Fuck.
I know.
Well, you just have to trust me on this one.
Ugh, it's hard for me to do.
I know, because I've been wrong several times. And I'm so definitive. You know, I was listening to a bit of the Conan one, and I'm so definitive about that canceling thing. I even convinced myself
canceling thing
that I canceled day of for days.
Oh, I know. I know.
Yeah.
I know. I knew it. I knew it as soon as you said it.
You could feel it.
Mm-hmm. Because I also knew for sure that he would not have said that if he didn't know for a fact.
Yeah.
Like, you don't accuse someone of something like that unless you know for a fact.
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay. Tori Spelling's house. You said was the biggest house in LA, maybe not anymore. The Manor, it's called the Manor.
It has a name.
Also known as Spelling Manor, is a mansion located in the Holmby Hills neighborhood of Los Angeles, California.
That's where the Playboy Mansion is, by the way. Holmby Hills.
Holmby. You know, it's weird because it's Holmby.
I know, but you kind of just swallow that L.
Yeah. Sure. Constructed in 1988 for television producer Aaron Spelling. It's the largest home in Los Angeles County.
Oh, in the whole county? In Still? Do we have a square footage on that prick?
56,500 square feet.
Oh my goodness.
123 rooms, 14 bedrooms.
Oh my goodness.
27 bathrooms.
Oh my goodness. So even, you know what's funny is I said, like, where were the parents? They might have been home.
Oh, they were definitely in another wing.
Yeah, you wouldn't even know. 127 bedrooms, like, you don't even have to sneak out of your house. Just sneak down one of the hallways, no one goes down. And you desire that, right? Because we kind of talked about it before. That sounds good to you, right?
No, that sounds crazy.
Okay, good.
But it sounds crazy. I would never do that, but I do kind of like the idea of it. I'd like to go there. Well, listen, they had rooms for all these specific purposes. That is a dream of mine. So they had a humidity controlled silver storage room, a flower cutting room. This is actually my dream. Multiple gift wrapping rooms.
Oh, yeah.
A barber shop.
Oh, my goodness.
And a room exclusively
A fat burger.
a room exclusively for Candy Spelling's doll collection.
Oh, my God. And but you know what's gross about that? Candy was the mom.
I know.
Oh, my gosh, guys. Guys, if your mom has a doll collection, just watch your back.
Anyway, isn't that cool though?
If one of our, if my mother-in-law had a doll collection, absolutely not allowed to sleep in the house with the girls. That's really
this
weird.
is a double standard, but for me, the fact that she's a lady, it doesn't gross me out as much. I know that's bad.
Yeah.
But if it's like a guy with a doll collection, that's
imagine
very
a
scary.
guy with a doll collection.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
A guy with a teddy bear collection.
Yeah.
Where he's spending a lot of time in the room with the teddy bears.
Yeah.
Like
It's a horror movie.
putting Paddington Bear's rain slicker on him.
Oof. Yeah, I don't love
You don't want that person around your children. That's all I'm saying.
No, I don't. But I do want a gift wrapping room. That's a dream of mine.
Yeah, it's called a fucking garage.
No.
You put a space heater in there and get to rapping.
How
Like a caveman.
how dare you? No,
Your rap jobs are above the bar.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're pretty exceptional.
my WJs.
That would be more like, I wouldn't even call, if you had it, I wouldn't even call it a gift wrapping room. I'd call it your art studio.
Oh,
Because
thank
that's your
you.
art, is your rapping.
That's true. It is my art.
I don't love that you do that because it actually makes the gift recipient feel guilty. Like when I get one of your beautifully wrapped presents, I go, I can't tear this open. She spent an hour on this.
That's your issue, not mine. That's
Okay.
your issue for feeling guilty when somebody else is getting joy.
And what about when I'm tearing it to smithereens?
Yeah, it breaks my heart.
I thought so. I knew it did.
No, it doesn't. I love it. There's a store in Venice, California
Okay.
called, I forget what it's called.
Go on.
It's on it's on Abbot Kinney, and it's a beautiful store, and it has the most incredible wrapping paper
Mhm.
and like pens, and it's gorgeous in there, and that's
Yeah.
what I want in my house.
Okay.
Okay, was Charo Brazilian?
Mm.
And did she say hoochie coochie?
Mm.
Okay,
Argentinian.
no, she's from Spain.
Oh, that's a bummer.
She's from Spain, and what she's saying is coochie coochie.
Which is pussy pussy?
No,
What?
so
Oh.
okay, so people think it's sexual.
Yeah, it sounds sexual.
It does. What coochie coochie came from is such a this is her talking, Charo. What coochie coochie came from is such a disappointment for everybody when they know, because everyone thinks that it's sex, cuchillo, which knife in Spanish. That was the name of her dog.
Okay.
Okay, he was a mix between a Saint Bernard and a pit bull,
Okay.
and she called him coochie coochie.
But you've heard women refer to their vaginas as their coochie or their cooch.
Yeah,
right?
but I think that maybe came from this.
Oh. Okay. Wow.
She started a movement. She
We'd
started
have
a
to
word.
find out the first reported case of someone saying, "Don't grab my cooch."
It's a little skeptical because I guess there was also like a pelvic thrust when she would say
Oh,
it.
God, of course, in reference to her dog.
Yeah, but she says he'd have a problem in the back.
This is like Kavanaugh
She has-
saying 3 blind men is like a cocktail he used to have. I'm calling bullshit on this.
What is it? Yeah.
The dirty triangle or something.
Devil's Triangle
Devil's
was like a
Triangle.
drink
Yeah, it was
or
like
something.
a beer bomb.
The pelvic thing also had to do with the dog. It had nothing to do.
Enough of what she said. She is full of fucking
Hey, that's
horseshit.
not fair.
She's saying that when she would fucking jam her pelvis forward, it was somehow a nod to her pit bull Saint Bernard mix.
Something about
And she'd go Gucci, Gucci, and pump her hips back and forth.
something about the dog wiggled or something, and it wiggled in that way, and so she had to do that.
So what she's saying is that her entire public persona is an imitation of her dog.
It's about her dog.
And
yeah.
you're saying you believe it. You're on record.
Yeah.
You're famous. Listen, I don't buy it.
Okay, you don't have to.
Okay.
I don't know what I think yet. I need more information.
Is she with us still?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Let's
So
get her on the podcast.
I did a commercial years ago, a Burger King commercial. Like when we auditioned, we knew there was 2 commercials and we were, you get one or the other, and they were very similar, but they had different celebrities. And my commercial was with Snoop Dogg.
Oh, right.
And the other celebrity was Charo.
Oh, and you got Snoop Dogg?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did he give you any rhythm?
I don't think so. No.
You don't think so?
No.
Although you're not great at detecting when guys are giving you rhythm.
I don't think he was.
Did
He
you
was
chat?
in and out quickly.
Okay.
He had a lot of his friends there. He was so tall.
Yeah, he's very tall.
And I found him charming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a real swagger to him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Like how charming? Did you think like, I'm kind of attracted to Snoop?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if I thought that far, but yeah.
Yeah. You had an availableness to you, maybe.
Maybe.
Were you wearing a Burger King outfit?
Of course.
Oh, that's rough. That's really rough. That
Wait,
is
was I
incredibly rough because it's really hard to flirt.
I wasn't
And-
flirting. No, I didn't flirt.
But don't you think a lot of it was impacted by the fact that you were wearing the
I'm
Burger
sure.
King costume?
I was wearing, probably like a black polo and probably a bad hat. Yeah.
Like a visor. Yeah. And
Yeah.
a name tag.
Maybe. I
It's
don't
just
remember.
when we talked about those times in your car where the right song comes on and you're in the right mood and you feel so sexy. This is just
not
the
one-
opposite of that.
not one of those
name
times.
tag,
Yeah.
ill-fitting pleated pants.
But you should feel good because you are in you're doing a commercial, but no.
No, but you're in that outfit and you start feeling the way the outfit makes you. That's kind of the magic of hair, makeup, and wardrobe.
Working
is-
from the outside in.
Yeah.
Yeah. They teach you that in acting school as a trick.
Oh, I wouldn't know. I have no education.
That's it.
That's all?
Mm-hmm.
Hoochie Coochie and the dentist.
Coochie coochie. You didn't even.
Coochie Coochie.
That's it, though.
All right. Well, I love you and thanks for that education on Charo.
You're welcome. Love you.